call. We have all councilors present here this evening with the exception of Councilor Emily Lutz, who has already given her notice. I would want to welcome everyone this evening to this public hearing here Tuesday, June the 3rd. I would like to note that if there's any members of the public in attendance here for an update on the regional sewer odor issue, that is on the agenda at the council meeting following this public hearing. At this time, I would note that the Municipal Government Act deems that council members not in attendance at a public hearing are ineligible to vote on the issue at the related upcoming meeting of council. In a public hearing, the council's role is to hear the staff presentation as well as comments from the public on the file and information presented. There will be no debate. However, any member of council may ask questions of clarification of either the staff or of the public. So our first item of business this evening is an application to rezone property 1733 Highway 1 in Auburn and amend the land use bylaw. Alice Jacob, our municipal planner, will be presenting, and so at this time, Ms. Jacob, I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a planning application to permit the expansion of a daycare facility at 1733 Highway 1, Auburn. County of Kings map. The red circle on the map is the approximate location of the property within Auburn. The property is located within a rural area and has approximately 1.5 acres, in area. The access to the property is from Highway 1. The property currently has a dwelling and a daycare facility, which is permitted through a development agreement. With regards to topography, the property is relatively flat. The rear portion of the property and the sides have portions of vegetation. With regards to neighboring uses, most of the neighboring uses are residential, and there are also agricultural uses in the area. The West Kings District High School is located approximately 1 kilometer to the east of the property. So the applicant intends to expand the existing daycare facility, which, as I mentioned earlier, is permitted through a development agreement. There are two parts to this application. The first part is a rezoning. So the property is currently located within the rural mixed-use A2 zone, and daycare facilities are not a permitted use within the A2 zone. So the proposal is to rezone the property to the rural commercial C4 zone. The C4 zone permits a variety of commercial uses. However, daycare facilities are currently not a permitted use within the C4 zone. So the application also includes a text amendment to add daycare facilities to the list of permitted use within the C4 zone. If council approves the amendments, then the current development agreement is proposed to be discharged. So in 2002, the property owner began operating a home daycare within this dwelling. Home daycares with up to 14 people capacity was a permitted use at the time. In 2003, the owner wanted to expand the daycare to 28 capacity, to increase the capacity to include 28 children, which was not permitted as of right, and it could only be permitted through a development agreement. So the property owner entered into a development agreement with the municipality under the previous set of planning documents to permit the proposed expansion. And in 2019, the development agreement was amended to permit further expansions to the daycare to include a new infant facility for 8 infants. The current property owners are preparing to retire, and they are in the process of transferring the property to Nova Scotia Early Childhood Education Society, which is a not-for-profit organization. And the organization is proposing further expansions to the daycare. So they are proposing to convert the existing dwelling into administration and child program spaces, and they're proposing a new daycare facility which will be connected to the existing dwelling. And this is the existing infant facility, so they are also proposing a new infant facility right next to that. And they're also proposing changes to the existing driveway. The existing driveway is not wide enough to accommodate two-way traffic, so the driveway is proposed to be widened to accommodate two-way traffic. And the play area, which is currently located here, somewhere here, is proposed to be relocated to the rear of the property. The property is currently located within the rural mixed-use A2 zone. The rural mixed-use zone permits uses like agricultural uses, resource uses, and residential uses. Daycare facilities, as I said earlier, is not a permitted use within the zone. However, home daycares with up to 14 people capacity are permitted as home-based businesses within dwellings, and home-based businesses are subject to additional requirements. So the existing daycare facility or the proposed expansions do not meet the requirements of home-based businesses, and the dwelling is also proposed to be decommissioned. So this is the existing dwelling on the property, and the daycare is located within the dwelling. And this is the driveway to the daycare, the parking area, and the neighboring residential dwelling to the west. Again, this is the dwelling and the daycare, and this is the existing infant facility and the play area between the buildings. A public information meeting was held for this application on the 11th of February at the Aylesford District Alliance Club. Most of the members in attendance were supportive of the application. They shared their experiences about the hardships of finding a spot within a daycare and also the shortage of daycare facilities. Some of the concerns expressed at the meeting were about traffic and the existing driveway. So neighbors mentioned that during peak hours, the vehicles would line up in front of their driveway, blocking their access. And there were also concerns about the varying speed limit in the area, which tends to change from 70 to 50 near the school zone and then to 80 near the daycare facility. So some suggested extending the nearby school zone to include the daycare area. The concerns and suggestions were passed on to the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, and they require the property owners to widen the existing driveway to accommodate two-way traffic, and they expect this to address the concerns expressed. And the applicant also assured that the issue of blocked driveways would be communicated to the families and would be taken into consideration. So a recap of the proposal. The proposal is to expand the existing daycare facility, and there are two parts to this proposal. One is to amend the text of the land use bylaw to rezone the property from the rural mixed use A2 zone to the rural commercial C4 zone. And the other part is a text amendment to permit daycare facilities to the list of permitted uses within the C4 zone. And this is the policy within the municipal planning strategy that enables the text amendment part of the application. The policy states, Council shall amend the text of the land use bylaw, provided the amendment is consistent with the vision, goals, and objectives of the strategy. So staff reviewed the application against the applicable policies of the municipal planning strategy, and policy 2.2.1 is with regards to rural areas. It states the various uses that are intended to be permitted within rural areas, which include rural commercial uses. And policy 2.2.2 and policy 2.2.7 are with regards to rural commercial zone. So as per these policies, the rural commercial zone was established to acknowledge the existing commercial uses within rural areas, and it permits commercial uses that serve the needs of the rural residents. So most zones within the rural areas permit residential uses, and as we heard during the public information meeting, daycare facilities are essential to serve local residents. So it is staff's opinion that it would be appropriate to add the use to the list of permitted uses within the zone. With regards to the impacts, the C4 zone currently permits uses like animal boarding facilities, emergency facilities, business offices, gas bars, and restaurants. And these uses might potentially have a higher impact on a neighborhood compared to a daycare facility. And the C4 zone also permits uses like educational facilities, such as schools and training centers, which are probably similar to a daycare facility. So it is staff's opinion that permitting a daycare within the C4 zone would be consistent with the intent of the zone and the intent of the rural area. So I'm not sure if anyone's able to see this, but there are pink markings within these circles on the map. Those markings are the only C4 zones that are currently within the county. So because of unpredictable demand, C4 zones are usually not pre-zoned, which means additional C4 zones could only be created through rezonings as and when required. So the text amendment would apply to all these existing C4 zones and to any new C4 zones that may be created in the future. Moving on to some of the other goals, objectives, and policies relevant to this amendment. The proposal is consistent with municipalities' economic goals and policies, which are mentioned here, which is to encourage new businesses and to diversify the economic base and promote entrepreneurship. It will also be consistent with the transportation objective mentioned here, to make efficient use of existing transportation infrastructure and to reduce transportation needs for rural residents. So moving on to the rezoning part, this is a policy within the municipal planning strategy that enables this rezoning. It allows council to consider rezoning from the rural mixed use A2 zone to the rural commercial C4 zone, provided the proposal meets the few criteria listed within the policy. So point A, council has to be satisfied that the rezoning is limited to the size that is reasonably required to accommodate the proposal. So just bringing up the site plan here. So as we can see here, the existing daycare facility and the proposed expansions to the facility would occupy nearly the entire property, and the proposal may also result in expansions to the existing septic system, which is proposed to be accommodated on the rear portion of the property. So there isn't a lot of space left for future development or use on the property. So it is staff's opinion that it would be appropriate to rezone the entire parcel. And point B, council has to be satisfied that the proposal meets the additional rezoning criteria, which we will look at in the next slide. And point C, it has to meet the requirements of our general policy, which will also be discussed later. So this is what criteria B points to, policy 3.4.23. It again allows council to consider this rezoning given specific policy criteria are met. Point A is to make sure that the application is to rezone land that hasn't been in recent agricultural production, which is determined through all these ways mentioned here. So the property owner has been operating the daycare within the dwelling since 2002, And staff reviewed the 2012 land cover map, which does not identify the property as an active agricultural land. And we also reviewed the aerial imagery from 2003, which again shows no evidence of agricultural activity on the property. And so point B is to make sure that the application would only rezone the area necessary for the specific proposal. So as I mentioned earlier, the proposed expansion would occupy nearly the entire property. So it is staff's opinion that it would be appropriate to rezone the entire parcel. And point C is to make sure the proposal will not create any undue conflict with nearby agricultural uses or rural residents. The property currently does not abut any agricultural lands. The nearest agricultural lands are approximately 500 to 700 feet from the subject property, and the proposed expansion is not expected to be in conflict with these uses. And with regards to the rural residents, at the public information meeting, as I mentioned earlier, most of the attendees were in support of the application. The only concern that they had was about the traffic and the driveway issues, which was passed on to the Department of Public Works. And as I mentioned, the Department of Public Works requires the applicant to widen the driveway to accommodate two-way traffic. And point D, the proposal has to meet the general criteria. So this is the additional policy that applies to all rezoning applications. Point A is to check if it would be appropriate to place the proposed zone on the subject property, whether the intent of the zone is met. And this is the intent of the C4 zone, which states, Council shall establish and enable the following rural zones common to the agricultural and resource designations in the land use bylaw. Rural commercial land, C4 lands zoned for commercial uses serving rural industries, visitors, and residents to locate and expand in rural communities. So the proposed rezoning would permit the existing daycare facility on the property to expand and serve the rural residents. This would be consistent with the intent of the rural commercial C4 zone. And point B is to look into the impacts of the proposed use and the other uses permitted within the zone and check whether it would be acceptable. So the property is currently located within the rural mixed-use zone, which permits uses like agricultural related industries, forest industry uses, animal boarding facilities, agricultural equipment, parts sales and services, and also places of worship. So developing any of these uses on the property could potentially have a greater impact on a neighborhood than the existing daycare facility and the proposed expansion. And as I mentioned earlier, the property is in the process of being transferred to a not-for-profit who are acquiring it to specifically establish the daycare facilities, and no other uses are being considered. So staff do not have any concerns regarding the impact. And point C directs to the general criteria, which is this here. So the application was reviewed against the applicable criteria, and it was found to be consistent with the intent of the municipal planning strategy. It does not conflict with any municipal provincial programs, bylaws, or regulations. We do not expect any financial impact on the municipality because of the proposal. With regards to land use compatibility, so the proposed expansion might be less impactful than some of the other uses permitted within the current zone, and the owner has been operating the daycare since 2002, and the neighboring property owners were also generally supportive of the proposed expansion, so there are no concerns regarding land use compatibility. The Nova Scotia Department of Public Works did not indicate any concerns regarding hazards or congestion. Their only suggestion was to widen the existing driveway to accommodate two-way traffic, because currently the driveway is not wide enough to accommodate two-way traffic, as a result of which there were concerns raised at the public information meeting. And the Aylesford Fire Chief has confirmed the adequacy of fire protection services and equipment. The fire chief, however, noted a concern regarding traffic safety, mentioning that there is at least one motor vehicle accident per year near this location. Staff investigated this further. We reached out to RCMP, who provided us with a collision report, and the report was passed on to the Department of Public Works. However, the department did not indicate further concerns and confirmed that the proposal met their requirements. The property is currently serviced by on-site sewer and water, which is under the jurisdiction of Nova Scotia Environment, and the onus is on the property owners to make sure that it meets their requirements. With regards to flooding or drainage problems, the property owners were required to ensure that the post-development flow does not exceed the pre-development flow, and they may have to meet the requirements of our new stormwater drainage policy. And staff do not anticipate any impacts on the neighboring farming operation because of the proposed expansion. So this is a process for the land use bylaw text and map amendment we've followed so far. We've received the complete application, and a public information meeting was held on the 11th of February at the Aylesford and District Lions Club. And the staff review was done. The application was reviewed against the applicable policies, and we reached out to relevant departments for their feedback, and a staff report with a recommendation was prepared. It was presented to Planning Advisory Committee on the 8th of April. Planning Advisory Committee made a positive recommendation to Council, and Council gave the application first reading on the 6th of May. We are currently at the public hearing. A second reading will be given to the application after the public hearing, and Council will make a decision. The decision will be advertised on our website, at which point the application will enter into a 14-day appeal period. And that concludes the presentation. I pass it back to the chair for comments from public.
Thank you, Ms. Jacob. Just to explain again to the public, Council sits as a quasi-judicial capacity for public hearings, so it doesn't engage in debate and doesn't argue with the presenter. It is necessary, however, that everyone has a good sense of what's being presented, so we will go to clarification if there's any misunderstandings or any part from any councillor. So at this time I would ask, is there any questions of clarification from any councillor to the presenter? Okay, I guess council is comfortable, so now I will go to the public. If there's any members of the public who would wish to address council on this matter, please come forward to the mic and state your name and address for the record. And as a reminder, you would have 5 minutes time per speaker, and please address your comments to council. So now would be the time if you wish to address council on this matter.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Margot Thomas, and I live at 1733 Highway Number 1, Auburn, Nova Scotia. From that address, I have just told you I am the present owner and operator of Stepping Stone Preschool. The center was established in 2002 to meet the needs of the community and surrounding communities. Childcare needs in the community have grown immensely since opening the center. Our wait list has grown to 327 children. Peter and I are planning our retirement. To reach our goal of retirement, we need to ensure the child care center will remain open and continue to provide child care to the community, employment for the early childhood educators, and a safe space for practicum students to gain valuable hands-on learning experience. The Nova Scotia College of Early Childhood Education is the best solution for families, children, and educators. Approving the amendment to the text to include daycares to commercial rural zoning and the expansion of Stepping Stone Preschool and Child Care Center will guarantee the continuation of high-quality inclusive childcare for families and children now and in the future. It will also guarantee the continued employment of all 14 early childhood educators who are dedicated to the families and children they serve. This expansion will create 40 more child care spaces, providing families with opportunities to enter the workforce. The greatest challenge to families is finding reliable, high-quality, inclusive child care when returning to work or entering the workforce for the first time. The expansion will also increase employment in our community and surrounding communities with the hiring of approximately 7 early childhood educators and providing the opportunity for 40 more families to enter the workforce. This is a great opportunity to create growth in rural Nova Scotia that in turn will create economic growth for the Kings County and the surrounding communities. Thank you for your time in considering this application.
Thank you for your presentation. Are you wishing to?
I will be brief. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, Mayor Corkum, councillors. My name is Joe Malik. I'm the CEO of the Nova Scotia College of Early Childhood Education. And I thought if we're proposing to become neighbors, it might be appropriate for me to come and introduce myself and the organization to you. NSCECE is a not-for-profit. As Alice mentioned, we've been operating since 1972, and we specialize exclusively in early childhood education. We have 3 lines of business. We operate 5 child care centers across Nova Scotia, offering 275 spaces to children. This center would be our 6th. We also run a college that only educates early childhood educators. So we actually practice what we teach. There's a really nice symbiosis there where we can ensure the quality of care reflects what's being trained in the college. We also have a professional development arm. So we cover the full life cycle of ECEs, and we really do understand early childhood education. I'll just give you a couple of points about what we're proposing to do. Alice gave you an excellent explanation of the architecture of what we're proposing, but in terms of the center itself, there are currently about 40 childcare spaces. We'd like to double that. There's an agreement between the federal government and provincial government that is designed to bring the average cost of childcare down to an average of $10 a day. We would be part of that process. And we're also looking to roughly double the number of people employed at the center. We are, I think we're very good neighbors. We do operate centers in other parts of the province. They all run extremely well. We're very responsible operators, and I think you'll find we provide a very high quality of care. We would like to be part of the solution of bringing more child care to Kings County, and I thank you for your consideration of our request.
Thank you for your presentation. I'll just ask you to stay there for a second in case any member of council has any questions to the presenters. One thing I got out of that was that you're not a novice at this, so you got lots of experience, so that's certainly a good thing. Is any member of council. Council McPherson, do you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, through you. My question is, you said there was a waiting list of 320 families hoping to put their children in the child care. And my question maybe is for you, Mr. Malik. I'm just very curious to the number of people looking for on a waiting list in Kings County. You have 320 in one center. There must be an awful lot of people that are unable to find child care.
Yeah, there is, and that would be true right across the province. The other centers that we operate have similar wait lists. In fact, we have one that opened just a couple of months ago, and they're also over 300 families now on that wait list. What's happened when this new agreement was struck in July of 2021, people who couldn't previously afford child care, with the price coming down so much, were now able to afford child care. So there's been a big increase in demand, and the sector hasn't been able to step up fast enough to absorb all that demand. So we're trying to be part of that solution by doubling the number of spaces at Margot Center.
Well, great. Thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation. You certainly made it clear that there is a need, and you have the experience, and I thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Corcoran.
Is there any other member of the public that would like to address council on this matter? Seeing no one else, we will now move on to the next item then. And next item on the agenda, the second item is an application to enter into a development agreement for the property located at 1143 West Halls Harbour Road. It is also presented by Ms. Jacob. So Ms. Jacob, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This application is for a development agreement to legalize 3 tourist cabins located at 1143 West Halls Harbour Road, Halls Harbour. Again, the County of Kings map. The red circle on the map is the approximate location of the property in Halls Harbour. The property is approximately 1.8 acres. Access is from West Halls Harbour Road. The property also has frontage on the Bay of Fundy. The neighboring uses are mostly residential, and there is a commercial use to the east. So located here is the Halls Harbour Lobster Pound. The applicant acquired the property in 2022. There is a dwelling on the property and 3 tourist cabins, 2 located here and the other one here. The applicant currently operates short-term rentals within the dwelling and the cabins. The property is located within the tidal shoreline T1 zone. 1-unit dwellings are a permitted use within the zone, and short-term rentals are also a permitted use within residential units. So the existing dwelling on the property and the short-term rental within the dwelling are compliant with the land use bylaw and are legal. However, the tourist cabins are not compliant and are illegal. So the tidal shoreline zone, tourist commercial uses are a permitted use within the tidal shoreline zone, but they are subject to certain requirements, and they are limited to 2 cabins accessory to a dwelling. In this case, there are 3 cabins, and the cabins do not meet the requirements of a tourist commercial use, so they are not compliant with the land use bylaw, and the cabins were also established without permits, making them illegal. This is a subdivision plan from 1992. As we can see here, all 4 structures have existed on the property for many years. The dwelling has always been a dwelling, but the other 3 structures were initially sheds, and over the years, the previous property owners renovated and converted the sheds into tourist cabins. But this was done without permits, and as a result of which they became illegal. We believe the applicant was not aware of the illegal status, and in 2024, when the province introduced the mandatory short-term rental registration requirement, the applicant requested a compliance letter from the municipality for the registration process. However, we could not issue the letter because of because the tourist cabins were illegal. And as a result, the applicant submitted the development agreement application to legalize the cabins. So this is the access to the subject property, and this is the view from the access looking west. This is the Halls Harbour Lobster Pound, and I believe this is a residential use. This used to be a post office, which is currently vacant. And this is one of the tourist cabins on the property, which is closer to the road. A portion of this cabin encroaches onto the neighboring property, and this is addressed through an encroachment agreement. And this is the existing dwelling on the property, and they operate a short-term rental within the dwelling. And the views of the other two cabins. These are the other two cabins, and this is the driveway leading to the parking. And they have parking. They provided parking at the rear of the dwelling. This is a view from further west. They have fire pits and outdoor seating areas. With regards to topography, this is the southern portion of the property. As we can see here, there is a steep slope, and the portion is also covered in thick vegetation. This developed portion has a slight slope towards the shore, and from here, the property slopes down to the shore. A public information meeting was held on the 16th of January at the Fundy View Community Center. Almost all the attendees were supportive of the application. There were some concerns regarding past fire and smoke issues, and there was also a discussion about the provincial short-term rental registration requirement. And this is a policy within the municipal planning strategy that enables this application. It allows council to consider the development of visitor-oriented developments within certain designations through a development agreement. The development will, however, have to meet a few policy criteria. Point A, it has to be oriented to visitors or traveling public. So the application seeks to legalize the tourist cabins, which are oriented to visitors and the traveling public. And B, whether there is adequate lot area to accommodate the proposed use. So in the T1 zone, properties with on-site sewer are required to meet a minimum of 30,000 square feet lot area for one-unit dwellings and also for recreational cabins. So the property has an existing septic system to which the dwelling and the 3 tourist cabins are currently connected. And the property has an area of approximately 78,000 square feet, which comfortably accommodates the dwelling, the 3 cabins, and also the parking and the on-site septic system. And criterion C, to check if the site facilities are adequately buffered or separated from the neighboring residential dwellings to mitigate any negative impacts. So the properties to the west are currently vacant, and there are no residential dwellings on that site. On the southern portion, as I mentioned earlier, the property has a steep slope and there is thick vegetation covering that slope. It kind of buffers the property from the neighboring properties to the south. And the north of the property abuts the shore, and there are no developments or residential dwellings on that side. The east, this is the nearest residential dwelling. And for tourist commercial uses are required to meet a 250 feet setback requirement from neighboring residential dwellings. In this case, this is the closest cabin to the dwelling, which is approximately 127 feet from this dwelling, and the other 2 cabins are set at 200 feet approximately. Although it does not meet the 250 feet setback requirement, the owner has been operating short-term rentals within these cabins since 2022 without any reported issues. And short-term rentals are a permitted use within residential units in all zones that permit residential units, meaning any of these dwellings, the neighboring residential dwellings, could also operate short-term rentals with comparable impacts to that of those of the tourist cabins, and they wouldn't have to meet the 250 feet setback requirement. And with regards to the other site facilities, so the dwelling and the cabins, it kind of buffers the other site facilities which are located centrally on the property, the fire pits and the other outdoor seating areas. So criterion D, if it is a listed permitted use, the condition that prevents the proposal is addressed through a development agreement. So the development agreement is proposed to legalize the 3 tourist cabins, which currently do not meet the requirements of the tourist commercial use. And finally, E, the proposal will also have to meet our general criteria. So the application was reviewed against the general policy, and it was found to be consistent with the intent of the municipal planning strategy. There are no conflicts with any municipal or provincial programs, bylaws, or regulations. We do not expect any financial impact because of the proposal. With regards to land use compatibility, as I mentioned earlier, the owner has been operating the short-term rentals since 2022 without any reported issues, and short-term rentals are a permitted use within residential units in all zones permitting residential units. The Nova Scotia Department of Public Works did not indicate any issues with regards to traffic hazards, congestion, access, or egress. And the Halls Harbour Fire Chief did not indicate any concerns regarding fire protection services or equipment. The property is serviced by on-site sewer and water, which is regulated by Nova Scotia Environment, and the property owner would have to meet their requirements. With regards to flooding or serious drainage issues, there are no issues with the existing drainage have been raised, and the structures have existed on the property for a long time. Staff do not anticipate any drainage issues, and we do not have any concerns regarding the site suitability. So this is a summary of the development agreement. So the development agreement recognizes the current tourist cabins and permits them to remain in operation. In case the cabins are destroyed, it enables the 2 cabins to the north of the dwelling to be rebuilt in the same location and footprint. And the cabin encroaching onto the neighboring property will have to be rebuilt within the boundaries of the subject property if destroyed. In terms of the process, a public information meeting was held on the 16th of January at the Fundy View Community Center. Staff reviewed the application against the applicable policies, and we reached out to relevant departments for their feedback. And a staff report with a recommendation was prepared, which was presented to Planning Advisory Committee on the 8th of April. Planning Advisory Committee made a positive recommendation to Council, and Council gave the application initial consideration on the 6th of May. We are currently at the public hearing. Properties within 500 feet were notified of the public hearing, and it was also advertised on our website and social media sites. After the public hearing, there will be a final consideration given to the application, and Council will make a decision. The decision will be advertised on our website, and the application will move on to a 14-day appeal period. That concludes the presentation. I pass it back to the chair for comments from public.
Thank you, Ms. Jacob. And at this time, I would ask, is there any questions of clarification from any member of council? Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. Jacobs. I think it's a phenomenal thing to have tourists coming to here. My question for clarification, if we issue a development agreement, would that allow for additional cabins to be allowed there as well?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gates. The development agreement does not allow additional cabins. It only legalizes the 3 existing cabins, and it also permits any other uses permitted within the LUB, but I don't think they'd be able to build any more new cabins.
Thank you, Councillor Gates. Good question. Any other member of council have any questions to the presenter? Okay. Seeing none, then I would ask if there's any member of the public that would like to come forward to make comments on this matter. And I would ask you to state your name and address, and you would have a maximum of 5 minutes for your presentation. I don't want to try and rush anybody, but I don't see anybody coming, so I'm going to assume then to move on to the third item in the agenda, that No member of the public wishes to come forward to make comments on this matter. All right. The third item on the agenda is an application to rezone property at 683 Central Avenue. This will also be presented by Ms. Jacob. Ms. Jacob?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This application is to rezone a property located at 683 Central Avenue, Greenwood. County of Kings map. The red circle is the approximate location of the property within the growth center of Greenwood. The property has an area of approximately 32,000 square feet, and the access is from Central Avenue. There is an existing mixed-use building on the property with a restaurant on the main floor and residential units on the second floor. The neighboring uses, most of the neighborhood that we see here are currently developed with primarily with residential uses. There are 1 or 2 commercial uses in the area. So the applicant intends to develop a multi-unit dwelling behind the existing mixed-use building. The subject property is currently located within the general commercial C1 zone. The C1 zone permits residential units, but the residential units are required to be located above, behind, or below a commercial use. So this is the property and the existing mixed-use building. If the proposal was to attach the multi-unit dwelling to the existing commercial use, they could have done this as of right without the requirement of a rezoning. But the proposal here is for a detached building, a standalone multi-unit dwelling behind the existing mixed-use building, and this is not permitted within the general commercial zone, which is the current zoning of the property. So the proposal is to rezone the property to the mixed commercial residential C3 zone, which would enable this proposal. The property and the neighboring properties are located within the general commercial zone. The general commercial zone permits a variety of commercial uses, and as I said, it also permits residential units, but the residential units are required to be located above, behind, or below the commercial use. And there is a residential mixed density zone. So there is a residential mixed density zone here, which permits a variety of residential uses. And then there's also an R2 zone and the environmental constraints O1 zone. This is the existing building on the property, which has a restaurant on the main floor and residential units on the second floor, and the parking in the front. This is a neighboring dwelling to the west of the subject property. And again, the neighboring commercial use to the east. This is the property across Central Avenue, which I believe is a commercial building, but is currently vacant. And these are the residential dwellings to the south within the residential mixed density R3 zone. And these are the views of the area proposed for the development. This is the rear of the existing building. This is the area proposed for development. A public information meeting was not required for this application because public information meetings are only required to rezone properties that are more than an acre. The property is less than an acre and a PIM was not required. The application was presented to the Greenwood Village Commission. There were questions on potential increase in traffic and about height requirements, and the commissioners also expressed concerns about rezoning commercial areas for residential development, but they were less opposed due to the housing shortage and because of the property's location in a transitional area where it kind of transitions from a commercial to a residential area. And policy 5.3.3 is what enables this rezoning. It enables council to consider rezoning land from one zone enabled within a designation to another within the same designation. And these are the various zones permitted within the commercial designation. Criteria A directs us to policy 3.2.2. And this is policy 3.2.2. So the current zone, which is the general commercial C1 zone, and the proposed zone, which is the mixed commercial residential C3 zone, are both enabled within this policy. As a result, council is able to consider this rezoning. And this is an additional policy that applies to all rezoning applications. Criterion A is to check if it would be appropriate to place the proposed C3 zone on the subject property, if the intent of the C3 zone is met through this rezoning. And this is the intent of the C3 zone, which states lands located in the zone are intended to complement established commercial areas. These areas shall generally be located on main transportation corridors and associated side streets that have commercial development. Traditional main street areas within commercial areas that have not yet experienced much development, or areas where flexibility between residential and commercial uses is desired, and to permit both residential and lower impact commercial uses such as local retail or business offices in the same area of a growth center. So this is a view of the area, and this is a zoning map for reference. As we can see here, the subject property and the neighboring properties are currently located within the general commercial C1 zone, and the C1 zone is primarily intended for commercial development. But if we look at the image here, most of these properties are currently developed with residential uses, although it's intended for commercial development. So the C3 zone, placing the C3 zone on the subject property would acknowledge the existing residential uses, and there are a few commercial uses towards the on further east of the property. So the C3 zone would also acknowledge these commercial uses further to the east, and the C3 zone would also permit flexibility by permitting both commercial and residential uses on the property. So staff are of the opinion that placing the C3 zone on the subject property would be appropriate. And point B of policy 5.3.5 requires us to review the impacts of the proposed use and other uses permitted within the proposed zone, and to check if the impacts are acceptable. So with regards to non-residential uses, all the non-residential uses permitted within the C3 zone are also permitted within the current C1 zone. So we don't expect any impacts with regards to the non-residential uses. With regards to the residential uses, so in the current zone, as I mentioned earlier, if the proposal was to attach the multi-unit dwelling to the existing mixed-use building, they could have done that without the rezoning. The only reason for the rezoning is they intend to build a separate standalone multi-unit dwelling. And if they do that, the existing commercial use on the property would require at least a minimum of 4,000 square feet lot area, and the remaining lot area, which is approximately 28,000 square feet, would be allocated for the multi-unit development. And the number of units would be determined by the requirements of the land use bylaw. So in the C1 zone, there is no minimum square feet requirement for the residential units, and the number of units will be determined by other other requirements such as setbacks and the height requirement, which is 65, and the parking requirements. In the C3 zone, there is a minimum requirement of 2,000 square feet per unit for residential units. And then there is setback requirements. The height requirement is 35 feet. And there's parking requirements and additional amenity space requirement, and also solid waste disposal requirement, solid waste disposal space requirement. So in the current zone, it is probably possible to have more than 15 units on the property based on the requirements. In the proposed zone, they could probably only have a maximum of 15 units on the property based on these requirements. And this is the general policy, and the application was assessed against the applicable aspects within the policy. It was found to be consistent with the intent of the municipal planning strategy. There are no conflicts with any municipal or provincial programs, bylaws, or regulations. We do not expect any financial impact on the municipality because of the proposal. We do not expect any land use compatibility issues. The proposed residential use would be compatible with the surrounding residential uses. There are adequate schools and recreation and community facilities within proximity to the subject property, and the Department of Public Works did not indicate any concerns. Their only concern was that the access is uncontrolled across the entire frontage, which will have to be brought up to current standards to meet their requirements, which will be taken care of during the permitting stage. And the Kingston Fire Department did not indicate any concerns regarding fire protection services or equipment. The municipality's engineering department confirmed the adequacy of sewer and water services. The drainage plan submitted by the applicant was reviewed by the municipality's engineering department, and they approved the plan, and there are no issues regarding site suitability. So in terms of the process, as I mentioned, a public information meeting was not required for this application. Staff reviewed the application against the applicable policies and also consulted with the relevant departments for their feedback. The application was presented to the Planning Advisory Committee on the 8th of April, and Planning Advisory Committee made a positive recommendation to Council. Council gave the application first reading on the 6th of May. We are currently at the public hearing. Properties within 500 feet were notified, and the public hearing was also advertised on our website and social media site. After the public hearing, the application will be given a second reading, and Council will make a decision. The decision will be advertised on our website, at which point the application will move on to a 14-day appeal period. And that concludes the presentation. I pass it back to the chair for comments from public.
Thank you. And at this time, I would ask, is there any questions of clarification from any counselor to the presenter? Councilor Gates.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Is there, to the presenter, is there any potential for sidewalk, adding 2 sidewalks for this development, or walkability? No requirements then.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gates, I don't really recall if this is within the sidewalk priority map, but I'm sure Laura could answer that for us.
I actually, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gates, I don't know if it's on the sidewalk priority map either, but I do know it's within the village of Greenwood, and so the responsibility would fall to the village, not the municipality.
Any other member of council? No? At this time then, I would go to the public. If there's any member of the public that would like to come forward and have any comments on this, we'd ask you to state your name, address, and you would have a maximum of 5 minutes. Okay. All right, well, thank you very much, Ms. Jacob, and now we will move on to the final item on the agenda for this evening for the public meeting, and that is to enter into a development agreement for the property located at 1081 Cape Split Road. This will be presented by our municipal planner, Perry Bowman. Ms. Bowman, I turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. As we were just introduced, we're here to discuss an application for a development agreement at 1081 Cape Split Road in Scots Bay. So we've seen this a few times this evening, but we'll quickly run through it. We received a completed application on the 18th of October in 2024, and a public information meeting was held on a very snowy evening on the 30th of January in 2025. Following that public information meeting, there was a staff review, and then a recommendation was forwarded to the Planning Advisory Committee on the 8th of April. Following that meeting, the full Municipal Council authorised a public hearing at initial consideration on May 6th, and we are currently here at the public hearing. Following this evening's public hearing at the council meeting, there will be final consideration where the full Municipal Council will make a decision on the application, and following that decision there is a 14-day appeal period. So, in respect to the proposal, similar-ish to the second application Ms. Jacob presented this evening, as a result of the introduction of the registration requirement for short-term rentals, we are here to discuss a development agreement application for a tourist commercial use that would permit fixed roof overnight accommodation in an existing building on the subject site. So the definition of fixed roof overnight accommodation means a building providing overnight accommodation to the travelling public. I will note that within the draft development agreement that is in your agenda package, the A-frame structure, which is the tourist cabin, is referenced as a tourist cabin, but ultimately that building will be providing fixed roof overnight accommodation if this application is successful. So this is a map of the subject site with the arrow pointing at the proposed tourist cabin. So for a little bit of background, the tourist cabin was constructed in the 1960s and was used by the owners of the property seasonally as their tourist accommodation for when they'd come to Scots Bay in the summer. As of 2021/2022, the owners moved permanently to the subject site and constructed a new dwelling, which is located, sorry, one moment, apologies, in this portion of the site here. So this is the newly constructed dwelling, and then the existing tourist cabin is on the western side of the subject site. So the tourist cabin is set back 141.7 feet from Cape Split Road and 47.1 feet from the western property boundary. We have 2 points of access to the site. There is a driveway on the eastern side which services the existing dwelling, and then we have a driveway on the western side which services the tourist cabin along with neighbouring properties. Okay, so here we have the map of the County of Kings with the red circle indicating the approximate location of the subject site within the community of Scots Bay. And here we have an aerial image of the subject site. So again, we can see the A-frame cabin here on the west, and then the location of the new dwelling on the eastern side. The subject site is approximately 2.02 acres in area and has approximately 200 feet of street frontage to Cape Split Road. The dwellings in the area surrounding the subject site are generally kind of clustered along Cape Split Road, with much of the land to the north being vacant and vegetated. The subject site is directly across the road from Little Cove, and the Cape Split trailhead is approximately 200 feet to the west of the subject site. So this is a zoning map of the area indicating that the subject site and surrounding land is in the rural mixed use A2 zone. So The rural mixed use A2 zone does permit tourist commercial uses as of right if they meet certain criteria, one of those being lot size. In this instance, the subject site does not meet that minimum lot size, which is 100,000 square feet. The subject site is approximately 87,000 square feet. So therefore, we do need to consider an application for a tourist commercial use through Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 2.5.13, which relates to applications for tourism or visitor-related uses within this zone. So this is the future land use bylaw map designation, which outlines the general intent of the land, in this case being that the designation is the agricultural designation. But where we have uses that do not exactly align with that intent, we have policy that allows us to consider uses outside of that intent, which we'll discuss in a moment further. So this is a map of this, an image of the subject site taken on Cape Split Road. So here we have the tourist cabin or subject of this application, which is the existing structure that the applicants are applying to have a fixed use overnight accommodation in. And then this is the new dwelling on the subject site. So this is looking at the driveway on the western side of the subject site, which provides access to 1075 Cape Split Road and 1079 Cape Split Road. I guess this is a wider shot where we can see all three of the neighbouring properties where there are dwellings on the land. This is actually a shed, but the dwelling is slightly further to the west. This is looking at the rear of the subject site and also where the proposed parking for the tourist cabin would be. And then this is looking directly at the rear of the tourist cabin. So, in terms of public consultation, 13 property owners within 500 feet of the subject site were notified by mail prior to the public information meeting, which was held on the 30th of January at the Scots Bay Community Hall. The presentation has been made available on the municipal website since that time, and a notice of the public information meeting was placed on the municipal social media on the 22nd of January. There were 8 members of the public plus the applicants in attendance at that meeting. Generally, the comments received were supportive, but the only concern raised were in regards to property values and property taxes, which are not something that we can consider through this application process. So they were referred to PBSC for conversation regarding their assessment and how neighbouring land uses may impact their assessments. But generally, overall, the feedback we received was in support of the application. So, what are development agreements? They're a legal contract between the municipality and the property owner. They enable uses that would not otherwise be permitted in a zone and place site-specific conditions on the location and design of development if that's what they're applying for, and they run with the land until discharged. So, jumping into policy, Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 2.5.13 states that Council shall consider only by development agreement within the agricultural designation proposals for visitor-orientated development not permitted as of right. In evaluating development agreements, Council shall be satisfied that, point A, the proposal is for visitor-orientated development or for the travelling public, such as but not limited to lodging, restaurants, event venues, or other types of special attractions. So in this case, the proposal is for a tourist cabin for fixed use overnight accommodation. In regards to point B, the subject property has a lot area that can appropriately accommodate the proposed use, any accessory uses, structures, parking areas, and required infrastructure. So the subject site, as mentioned before, is almost 88,000 square feet in area and currently accommodates the existing A-frame building and residential dwelling comfortably. The site functions with an appropriately sized septic system for both the A-frame building and the new dwelling, and given the A-frame structure was on the site prior to the new dwelling, staff consider the site can appropriately accommodate both. The driveway on the western side of the subject site provides access to parking at the rear of the A-frame, and the parking does not obstruct the driveway for access further up to neighbouring residential dwellings either. Further to that, we're looking at point C. The site facilities are adequately buffered and or separated from surrounding residential dwellings, other than the residential dwelling occupied by the operator, to mitigate negative impacts associated with noise, light, and other visual impacts. So, the A-frame structure sits approximately 200 feet from the dwelling to the east, 245 feet from the dwelling to the west, and 230 feet from the dwelling to the north. The driveway and various, accessory buildings, whether that's the new residential dwelling or sheds on neighbouring properties, sit between the A-frame structure and the dwellings on the east and western side. So staff consider that there is adequate buffering already in place. And additionally, the applicants live on the subject site and will be there to mitigate any noise impacts that may occur on the site. Then point E, if the use is a listed permitted use, the conditions that prevent the proposal from being permitted as of right in the designation is addressed by the development agreement, including, but not limited to, enhanced buffering and the positioning and design of the buildings and structures. So the tourist commercial uses are permitted in the rural mixed use A2 zone. However, the subject site does not meet that minimum lot area requirement. But given that the A-frame structure was on the site prior to the new dwelling, staff consider that the existing building can coexist with the neighbouring dwellings and not have any negative impact on neighbouring properties. And then point F asks us to consider the general criteria set out in section 5.3, development agreements and amending the land use bylaw, which we will look at on the next slide. So, the application has been assessed and is deemed to be consistent with the intent of the municipal planning strategy and does not conflict with any provincial or municipal bylaws, programs or regulations. And there is not expected to be any financial impact on the municipality. In respect to land use compatibility, the proposed use is inside of an existing building, so no new development is proposed and is set back more than 200 feet from any neighbouring dwellings. And there are driveways and other accessory dwellings located between the A-frame structure and neighbouring dwellings to, mitigate any light, noise and such impacts that may occur. And given that the A-frame structure was on the land potentially before some of those dwellings, there are not expected to be any land use conflict issues. In terms of proximity of recreation and other community facilities, as stated, the subject site is approximately 200 feet from the Cape Split trailhead and is in proximity to the Blomidon Provincial Park, beaches and other nature reserves in the area. The application was sent to the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, who is the body with jurisdiction over Cape Split Road, and they did not raise any concern in regards to traffic hazards or congestion. Similarly, the application was sent to the Canning Fire Department, who also have a branch in Scots Bay, and they did not raise any concern with the application and advised that there was adequate fire protection services for the proposal. The application was referred to the Nova Scotia Department of Environment, who is the body with jurisdiction over well water and septic systems, but no comments received from them. The application does include a provision which states that the owner is responsible for providing water and wastewater disposal services to the standard of the Nova Scotia Department of Environment. In terms of the potential for flooding or serious drainage problems, as no new development is proposed, there is not expected to be any change to the way the site currently works. Similarly, as there's no new development proposed or no, increase in density of operation on the land above potentially having, on average, 2, maybe 5 additional people on the land, it's not expected to have any impact on neighbouring farming operations, and the site is considered suitable for this use. So, just to quickly recap, we've received a completed application in October of 2024. A public information meeting was held in January of 2025. The application was presented to the Planning Advisory Committee on April 8th of 2025, and a positive recommendation was forwarded to the Municipal Council at initial consideration on May 6th, where a public hearing was also authorised. Following this evening's presentation, Council will make a decision on the application at final consideration, and following that there is a 14-day appeal period. And I will now pass it back to you, Mr. Mayor, for comments.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Is there any questions of clarification to the presenter from any member of council? Okay, then we will go to the public then. Is there any member of the public that would like to present to council on this item? I would ask that you come forward and state your name and address. Okay, well, thank you again, Ms. Bowman, and therefore there's no other matters to come before the public hearing. I declare this public hearing adjourned. I would also note that for the public's information, that there are items that are on the agenda of the council meeting directly following this hearing for a second reading. So just for clarification, if you're interested. So at this time, we will move into our municipal council meeting, June the 3rd, 2025, and I would call the meeting to order and declare that all members of council, with the exception of Councillor Emily Lutz, who has provided notice that she could not make it, that all other councillors are present. Anyway, we shall now move on to approval of the agenda. And just for public attendance, if you're here for the regional sewer, that is number 7 on the agenda. All right, so we have an agenda in front of you. I would ask the member of council to move the approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Best, second by Councillor Harding. All those in favor, please vote, yay or nay. Well, vote. For or against. Anyway, for the clerk, I did vote yes. All right, we'll move on then to disclosure of conflict of interest. Is there any member of council that would like to declare a conflict of interest in any of the items that are coming up in the council meeting? No? Okay, we shall then move on to the approval of the minutes of May the 6th. Is there a mover and a seconder of those minutes, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Peckford, second by Councillor Hiltz. All those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, motion carried. Now at this time I'd ask if there's any member of council is aware of any business arising, like errors or omissions of the May the 6th minutes. No? Okay, we shall move on then to the Planning Advisory Committee's recommendation. And I believe the Deputy Mayor Peckford is going to read the recommendations as Vice Chair of the PAC. And the first one, 6A, is application to rezone the property at 1733 Highway 1 Auburn and amend the land use bylaw file 24-21. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. 06A, that Municipal Council gives second reading to the application to amend the land use bylaw text and map to permit the expansion of an existing daycare facility at 1733 Highway 1, PID 5507973, Auburn, as described in Appendix D and E of the report dated April 8th, 2025.
And you so move?
I so move.
Okay, and second by Councillor McPherson. Any further discussion on the motion? No? All those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, motion carried. The next one, 6B, application to enter into a development agreement at 1143 West Halls Harbour Road, Halls Harbour, file 24-13. Deputy Mayor Peckford.
Thank you. Through you. 06B, that Municipal Council give final consideration to entering into a development agreement to legalize 3 tourist cabins on the property located at 1143 West Halls Harbour Road, PID 55041065, Halls Harbour, which is substantively the same for minor differences in form as the draft set out in Appendix D of the report dated April 8th, 2025. I so move.
Second by Councillor Allen. All those in favor or against, please vote. Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to 6C, application to rezone property at 683 Central Avenue, Greenwood, file 23-16. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through you. 06C, that Municipal Council gives second reading to the application to rezone 683 Central Avenue, PID 55314-876, Greenwood, from the general commercial C1 zone to the mixed commercial residential C3 zone, as described in Appendix D of the report dated April 8th, 2025. I so move.
Second by Councillor Sappington. Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote. Motion carried. Now 6D, application to enter into a development agreement at 1081 Cape Split Road, Scots Bay, file 2415. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through you. 06D, that Municipal Council give final consideration to entering into a development agreement to permit a tourist commercial use within an existing building at 1081 Cape Split Road, PID 55014047, Scots Bay, which is substantively the same, save for minor differences in form, as the draft set out in Appendix C of the report dated April 8th, 2025. I so move.
Second by Councillor Gates. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor or against, please vote. Motion carried. Item 6E, application to rezone the property at 836 Main Street, Kingston, file 25-05. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through you, 06E, that Municipal Council give first reading to and hold a public hearing regarding the application to rezone 836 Main Street, PID 551-22279, Kingston, from the general commercial C1 zone to the mixed commercial residential C3 zone, as described in Appendix C of the report dated May 22nd, 2025. I so move.
Second by Councilor Best. All those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, motion carried. Move on to number 6F, I'm sorry. Application to rezone a property on Highway 221 Centreville, file 24-18. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through you, 06F, that Municipal Council give first reading to and hold a public hearing regarding the application to rezone a vacant parcel located on Highway 221, PID 5504-5678, Centreville, from the residential 1 and 2 unit R2 zone to the residential mixed density R3 zone, as described in Appendix D of the report dated May 22nd, 2025. I so move.
Okay, second by Councilor Sappington. Further discussion? Councilor McPherson.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I have a question for the Department of Development, I suspect. I'm just curious, when a property is designated environmentally sensitive, does that ensure that the Department of Environment will take a close look at the property before, will provide that information before a decision is made through this process?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor McPherson. The environmentally sensitive area overlay is applied to areas of steep slope and areas where flooding may occur, and simply requires that the development have some additional engineering done to take account of those conditions. It does not guarantee that the Department of Environment is going to have a sign-off or any further opportunity to comment on the development in advance of, an issue being reported, really.
Follow up, Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
through you. Thank you very much for that information. I'm just wondering who is responsible for monitoring to ensure that whatever measures are required in environmentally sensitive property are in fact adhered to?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor McPherson, it wouldn't be something that is required to be monitored. It simply requires that the design of the building have additional engineering to account for the condition of the site where the environmentally sensitive area overlay has been applied. For this development, my understanding is they're not proposing to develop within that area, so we don't expect there to be any kind of additional engineering over and above what's required in the National Building Code. But I would also just remind Council that we did adopt, or that you adopted rather, a policy related to stormwater management, so that we can be confident that the situation on site, the existing condition, will not be made worse by the development.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Moser. Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, motion carried. All right, and 6G, do we have a date of our next public hearing? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Just 1 second. I don't have that in front of me at the moment. I was unfortunately unavailable at the previous PAC. Madam Clerk? Yes, we do, right there. Tuesday, July 8th, 2025, at 6 p.m. will be the next hearing.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Mr. CAO. Okay, so that's our July the 8th, 6 p.m. would be our next public hearing. All right, we'll move on to number 7 on our agenda, and that is administration. The community flag raising, Philippine Independence Day, June the 12th, 2025. I believe our municipal clerk is presenting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, Council. We received a request from the Filipino Canadians in the Valley Association for a flag raising on Philippine Independence Day on June the 12th. The community flag raising policy states that flag raising requests are to be reviewed and approved or denied by the CAO, and that decisions be noted on a council agenda for information purposes. The CAO approved this request as it's consistent with the policy, and I'm bringing this to you for information, and also to invite you to join us for the flag raising on June the 12th at 10 a.m. And the recommended motion is simply to receive this briefing for information.
Okay, somebody move the receipt of this recommendation, please. Moved by Councilors Best, second by Councilor Allen. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor or against the receiving that, please vote. Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to Council and Committee of the Whole meetings, August 2025, and our municipal clerk will be presenting.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Every year around this time, we ask Council to decide whether it wishes to meet in August or whether to take a break. As you were able to see in the table that was included in the request for a decision, council meetings in August in the past 11 years were cancelled 8 times. There were no committee of the whole meetings held in the past 11 years in August, and a special council meeting was held 5 times during those 11 years to deal with time-sensitive matters. The recommended motion is that Council and Committee of the Whole not meet in August 2025 unless required for urgent and pressing matters, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, that's the recommendation, that we not meet unless required. So I take it from that, obviously, if it's necessary, we certainly can meet. So we will, I need a mover and a seconder if they want to put that on the floor. Okay, moved by Councilor Allen, second by Councilor Harding. Further discussion. Councilor Sappington.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, I feel like we have a very urgent matter, and until it's taken care of, that we shouldn't even consider this suggestion. I feel like we need to fix our regional sewer system, and until that's done, I wouldn't even consider not having meetings in August.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments from council? Any further comments from council? Okay. Questions being called. All those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion defeated. We will be meeting in August. Okay, all right, we shall now move on to update on the regional sewer presentation. And we have Brad Kerrigan, our Director of Engineering and Public Works, presenting. Motion, and then we'll need a motion to receive that afterwards. Director Kerrigan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Here today to give another update on our regional sewer conditions and the ongoing smell that we're experiencing right now. Discussion points for tonight: review the advice we've received to date, recent undertakings that we've undertaken in the last few years, as well as most recent undertakings that that have taken place in the last few weeks, upcoming improvements that we're working on, and then there'll be an opportunity for questions that I will address. So advice received to date: consulting engineers along with in-house staff advise the problem that we have ongoing is still due to the lack of oxygen. We have been measuring our dissolved oxygen levels in the lagoons, and they continue to be low for what we should be having for our DO levels. The healthy and odor-free biological treatment plants require this dissolved oxygen in the lagoons, and up till right now, last year we installed new air diffusers, have been installed in cells 1 and 2 of the lagoons, and the problem continues to relate to the supply of air from the blowers that we are feeding the lagoons with. Just to again reinforce what the old blowers used to look like, these are the old aerators used to look like. These have been replaced in the last year or two. And the new diffuser system shown here in the cell 1, which is located on the right side of the screen. You can see how many more diffusers there are, providing a lot more air contact in the system. So recent undertakings, we have added air into the lagoons. We've done that through multiple of methods. One item that we've also done is recirculate healthy water or healthy wastewater from lagoons 4 and 5 back into lagoon number 1, which has helped in the past. We have installed additional lagoon masters, which are portable units that we put on the side of the system to help add air into the system. And in the last 2 weeks, we've also placed a 4th blower into service, which was out of service to be relocated to a different position. So all 4 blowers are running right now. That's for cell 1 and 2. Here's pictures of the lagoon masters in operation. As I said, they're a portable unit that we can move around the cells to add air on a local basis around the outside of the plant. This is a picture of one of the temporary pumps that we set up to pump healthy wastewater from lagoons 4 or 5 back into cell 1. So most recent undertakings that we've done is we've received delivery of 2 new high-efficiency blowers. We've received professional advice from our engineering consultants on proper piping and optimal piping connections to maximize the air output into the cell. These were just piped in and electrical connected last weekend, and we're awaiting our supplier to be here this week to do a full commissioning of that system to get those in operation. Here's a picture of the new high efficiency blowers that, like I said, that we installed this past weekend on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So these units are going to be used to supply air to cell 2 so that we can use the existing blowers that are in the backdrop of the screen. You can see them in behind, which are a mechanical blower. Those will still be there to provide air into cell 1. So the work this weekend included fabrication of connections to the airline supply. So you can see the line, if you watch, is the piping out of these new blowers has been up and piped in, welded into our existing line, and this line down here in the screen is what feeds cell number 2. These are intended to, so based on advice from consultants, we're going to separate delivery of air to Lagoons 1 and to Lagoon 2. Intended to maximize air delivery and provide system with backup air. And as I mentioned, these were recently installed this past weekend. The other thing that we did actually just this past Thursday and Friday, was we had a control supplier professional in, and he tuned the air blowers that are in the second blower building. The second air, and I have some pictures for that to follow. The blowers in the second building supply the air to Lagoons 3, 4, and 5. So there's 5 lagoons on site. They provide all the air to Lagoons 3, 4, and 5. And by tuning those blowers and the controls on those blowers, we were able to increase output by 70% in Lagoons 3, 4, and 5. And that has already been done as well. So that is a very recent undertaking at the end of last week. So here's some pictures of these. As I said, we're now supplying 70% more air to these lagoons, preventing back pressure, as much back pressure on the lines, have the blowers running more efficiently, and we are already starting to see some dissolved oxygen increases in Lagoons 3, 4, and 5, which should help prevent any obnoxious odor from those cells. So on advice of these consultants and chemists, we've also starting this week to introduce a oxygen supporting compound, which is a natural solution used for odor control and wastewater. It works by providing a nitrate nutrient that is consumed by naturally occurring bacteria, which promotes the increased dissolved oxygen levels in the plant. So again, this is intended to reduce obnoxious odors emitting from the lagoons. And this chemical that we're adding is going to be done first in bulk with a large discharge, but also maintenance dosing, every day into the plant, into the cells. So that will be added to cells 1 and 2, as well as cells 4. And by putting into cell 4, it will flow into cell 5 as well to help control the smell everywhere. I should let everybody know, it's not it's not basically a fragrant masking component. This is a chemical that actually works with the system to increase our dissolved oxygen levels in the plant. So it's not just a masking agent. You can see the equipment now on site. If you were to drive down, this is what this chemical equipment looks like for this oxygen boosting compound or oxygen promoting compound. We receive it by bulk tanker, and we're also going to be adding it around the site into the lagoons through by taking these tote tanks around and being able to put it into different spots of the lagoon so that they don't go just into one spot. So upcoming improvements, and these were all suggested, recommended, and approved by our regional technical subcommittee, is to continue with the purchase and install of composite samplers. Those will be installed at some large institutional and industrial users to monitor what loading we get from our large institutional industrial customers. As well, we're increasing our instrumentation to measure inflow pH and other influent load monitoring throughout the system, as well as continue our increased daily and weekly collection analysis of our operating parameters, checking our dissolved oxygen, checking our other components to see where we're at with our influent and TSS and BOD levels throughout the plant. So we're doing that more often than we usually do. As well, the biggest thing that we're doing for the long term is an in-depth engineering study of the entire system. That's already been commissioned by engineering consultants. So that is happening concurrent to all of this short-term work, so that recommendations can be made and we can take steps to improve this system for the future. And that may be, without speculating the results of that study, that may be to look at what other mechanical or other biological systems may need to be added to this system to supplement this system to work better. And with that, entertain any questions from council, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Director Kerrigan. So any member of council have any questions to the director? Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Department of Engineering, Brad. Would the increase in the amount of air cause increased turbulence, which might cause more odor and hydrogen sulfide? Is there concern that by injecting too much air, that it may be, if you increase the turbulence, you'll create hydrogen sulfide. That's a concern. I'm wondering if the engineers are taking that into consideration as well.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the engineers have all the data we have and more. They are industry specialists in this, so they are considering all that. With the increased oxygen that we're putting in with tuning the blowers in cells 3, 4, and 5, they did say that extra air may stir stuff up a little bit and may, in the very short term, create additional smell. But it's what's needed to get the air into the system to actually resolve this so that we can move forward with no smell.
Okay. Questions for the director, Councillor Sappington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have lots and lots of questions. First off, Director Kerrigan, what does the commissioning entail? What are we waiting for to turn these oxygen machines on? Like, what does it take?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll do my best. I can't tell you what exactly it's going to be. It is not just push a button. There will be a full sequence of operating. This is like any other mechanical plant that you turn on. It has to be turned on in a certain sequence, monitoring certain parameters when you start this up. If it doesn't, we could basically burn something up like that and basically be out hundreds of thousands of dollars in blowers because we just decided we're going to turn the key and start it ourselves. We need a professional to do this. The Canadian rep for this is currently in Mexico. He's trying to get his butt back here and get this happening tomorrow or Thursday. We're hoping tomorrow, but we were told Thursday is the earliest he could be here, but we're trying to do what we can to expedite that.
And it is my understanding that once it's turned on, the smell could actually even be worse because we are moving things around, correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that would be speculation. It could happen. I can't tell you that with any certainty that is going to happen or is not going to happen.
But certainly the smell is not going to be fixed immediately. We can say that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I have a question in regards to these experts and professionals that we keep referring to. Are these new experts and professionals that we're speaking to, or are these the same experts and professionals we've been speaking to for years?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Sappington, I would say that's a complex question. We've had multiple engineering consultants involved. We've got two of the leading engineering consultants in Canada working on this right now that are providing suggestions, answers, data, analysis, everything they can to get this resolved for us.
So with all due respect, with these leading engineers, is more oxygen the only advice we're being given, or is that the only advice we're taking right now?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there have been multiple things that we have that we're working on. It's not just air, as we've said in this presentation alone. We're trying this new nitrate additive, which is something different than just adding air. We're looking at everything we possibly can to get this resolved as soon as we can.
So in regards to that nitrate additive that we're talking about, could, when we put that into our lagoon system, could it be canceled out if perhaps a large user were to put chemicals or yeast or fat or any sort of those things down into our system? Could, in essence, we be throwing our money down the drain if we add that and then it gets canceled out?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again, you're asking me to speculate on something. I don't know what all of the industries are putting down the drain, so I can't speculate to say that that's going to cancel it. The compound that we are putting in holds hydrogen sulfide in suspension so that it doesn't get released and get released to the, so that is going to help with our smell.
I appreciate that, Director Kerrigan. Will there ever be a point where we can actually talk to these professionals and experts directly so that I could have direct answers?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if the CAO wants to comment on that. That's certainly something that we could entertain.
Would the study that we are commissioning be done by the same experts and consultants that we are getting advice from right now? Are they doing the study that's coming?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, one of them is.
And then finally, I would say we are using the largest lagoon system in Nova Scotia when we are the third largest municipality in Nova Scotia. Perhaps a lagoon system wasn't made for a municipality our size. Would you think that might be a correct statement?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again, you are asking me to speculate on something that I cannot, based on size, based on design, the system should be able to handle it based on design.
Thank you.
Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Scott. Brad. Sorry. Am I accurate in remembering from a previous update that the actual system is functioning at about 47 to 49% of capacity?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd have to check to make sure that we're that, but that sounds correct. We're at about 50% of capacity is my understanding.
Okay, and I recall that from a previous update. And the reason I'm posing that question, and my follow-up question is, if we're at about 50% capacity, then the system should be able to handle whatever's happening there. I'm glad to see the competent samples being taken from the different entry points and an in-depth engineering study being done to see what's going on there. I'm just wondering, I guess as kind of a follow-up to the question that Councillor Sappington asked, I'm just wondering at what point do we come to a determination that perhaps we're chasing the wrong rabbit here?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess the only way I can respond to that is exactly why this optimization study is in place, is to say what design of a plant, what type system, what do we need that's going to take care of the municipality along with future growth, not just for the short term, but also the long term over the next 20, 25 years.
Thank you for that. We've had, as a follow-up, Mr. Mayor, through you, I mean, there have been issues with odor coming from that plant for many, many years. I lived in New Minas myself many years ago, and there were issues. There seems to have been a period of time when things functioned well and those odors weren't happening. So I'm wondering, what's changed? Is it capacity, or is it what's being put into the system that's causing the issue, or is it an older system that is beginning to fail?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess all I can respond to that. Those are great questions. I don't have the answers to those.
Thank you.
Order, order, order. You have a chance to speak after. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Peckford.
Thank you. Through you, thank you for the presentation, Director Kerrigan. I know you are forced to cover a lot of topics in your profession, and can't expect you to be the professional and specialist in every single one. So I do have a bit of a general question on lagoons. Other municipalities outside of our own province, do you know what type of sewer system they're typically putting in? Are they putting in lagoon systems or more so mechanical? What seems to be the trend moving forward as municipalities grow and change and require updating their systems?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I cannot tell you exactly what all the other municipalities are putting in. A lagoon-based system would be an older type system, and I know larger municipalities would typically put in a more mechanical system.
Okay. Thank you, if I could, Mr. Mayor. So I know in the past we've spent a large sum on research and different approaches to try and mitigate the problems that we're facing. I'm just wondering if, in your opinion, we should be looking at potentially investing in a new mechanical system, moving away from the lagoon, and realizing that if that seems to be the future in new sewer systems, when do we cut our losses and move forward? I know this council has been discussing rather large infrastructure expenditures, and maybe it's time we shift our focus to something that is a priority, such as the sewer system.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree 100%. I wouldn't say 100% that it has to be mechanical. That's why we've commissioned an engineering study. That's where it starts, to tell us what type system we need. The next step from that would be to issue a detailed design of that system, whatever that might be, and then obviously to build it. That's not a short-term thing that's going to fix the smell right now today. Mm-hmm. That's a longer-term solution, but I agree that is what's needed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Councillor Harding.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank you, Mr. Kerrigan. A lot goes into this. I do understand wastewater, and you're on the right path, and you have to move along this corridor, and you got engineers looking into where we should go from here. So I got to say I thank you for that, and I think we're on the right track here. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Director Kerrigan. Also, the Hansporter wastewater treatment plant has an odor problem, and I was just wondering if those are the only two that really in our district have an odor problem.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, those are the only two that I'm aware of right now that have any considerable odor issues. And with this biocide addition that we're doing in regional right now, starting this week, if that works, then our next thing's going to be is, if this works, should that be something that we're adding into Hansporter to help with the smell there as well.
Very good, thank you.
I have a question. Do you have a ballpark, Mr. Kerrigan, on what we've spent recently to try and fix this problem?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to you, I haven't got that number added up. I know we've been spending a lot on consulting advice for that. I'd have to actually start adding at some of those things to see what exactly. Right now, the focus has been on getting it working.
Sure.
And everything is treated as an emergency in this case right now.
So it'd be safe to say we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to try and fix this problem, and if it's not fixable, a new system would be millions and millions of dollars. Is that a safe comment?
Those would be fair statements.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Sappington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do appreciate how much our staff has invested their time and how much we as a municipality have invested our money into trying to get answers. But I also hope that everybody appreciates that the Apple Blossom Festival just went on this week.
So what's your
and-
question, Councillor
Okay.
Sappington?
That we appreciate that we're also losing money when we lose tourism and we lose people that want to live in our communities anymore, and then our health concerns as well. So my question would be, we have the largest lagoon system in the third largest municipality. Do we know who has the second largest lagoon system so that I can perhaps compare?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't know who that is. I would have to research and find that out.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Brad. Yes, you do have a major issue that we're dealing with. With regards to testing before it gets to our lagoon, are we able to detect or find out possible sources that may be adding pressure to our system? And is there any way to divert some of the pressure on our system?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gates, that's the purpose of the composite samplers that we're purchasing and going in, to try and narrow down where, where there may be heavy loading coming from any industries or any industrial users. And at that point, then we would have to assess and look to see what can be done. There's no simple diversion. We can't take anything and move it somewhere else. So we would have to look into, what controls are needed. Are they pre-treatment, whether that be on a site before it leaves I'll say a customer site? Is it pre-treatment of a certain region? Those are all things that are certainly going to be looked at.
Thank you. I think we recognize how unbearable it is for the citizens, and we have a councillor that lives right there in the community that knows very well. But the last thing I would comment, and thank you for your presentation, Director Kerrigan, is how stressful this has been on you and your staff trying to fix the problem. We're well aware of that. So at this time, I would ask if for a motion to receive the report, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Peckford, second by Councillor McPherson. All those in favor signify by for or against. Please vote. Okay, we will move on to the next. I would mention to council or to the public that they will have an opportunity to speak in item number 12, the comments from the public. We will now move on to item 8, financial services, and I would invite Kevin Wheaton, our financial analyst, to speak. Yeah. We already went by it, Bobby. Why wouldn't you? Excuse me, just a second. I guess we missed. I got a couple of councillors that still had some comments. Where's Director Kerrigan? Still here, okay. Councillor Sappington.
Oh, I'm
Sorry.
good. No, I've
Oh, you had, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem. Councillor Best, you had a comment.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any chance that we could get the comments from the public now? I think there's lots of people in the gallery that would like to.
Agenda, thanks. All right, we'll move on. So we got our financial people here. Financial people? Okay. Yep, go ahead.
And councillors, I will be presenting a proposed amendment to the 2024
Pardon me?
investment plan.
Yes.
Is that,
I think
is the
we got
audio
you
okay?
turned on now.
No? Okay. Hey, is this better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll start over again then. Good evening, Mayor Corkum and Deputy Mayor Peckford and councillors. I'm presenting the 2024 capital investment plan and proposed amendment to it. The amendment relates to a Village of Kingston project, project number K33, which is the lift station renewal project for lift station KN03. The village is requesting to add this project to the capital project submitted to the municipality in support of the 2024 capital investment plan. Now, the village of Kingston is one of the 7 villages. Well, we have 7 villages, but there's 4 that receive an automatic allocation of CCBF from the municipality, and the village of Kingston is one of those. But that being said, the village still requires approval of the municipality to use these CCBF funds, and the current balance of their account is $879,750. Now, in the original village CIP submission, one project was included that involved the use of CCBF funds, but this project K33 was omitted, and during the process of the CIP processing last year, I didn't pick up on that either, so it was left out of the plan completely, which was approved in the middle of December.
I think maybe you might need to
2024.
get your mic a little bit closer to you, Mr. Wheaton.
Audio is going down again?
I'm not sure everybody can hear him in the back there.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
That's better, thank you.
Not used to Mike being so close, but so they're asking that this project K75 be included in the 24-25 CIP with a value or a cost of $262,143, which would be solely funded with CCBF funds. This amendment would increase the approved CCBF usage from $500,000 to $762,143, and this change would have no impact on the municipality's own CCBF balance. The following table shows the approved use by the villages, which was approved back in December 17th by council. And if you look at the line that in gray there for Kingston, you'll see that CCBF was approved for $500,000, and that was for the other project. And then if this additional project was added, then their CCBF funding would need to be, approval would need to be up to $762,143 to cover the CCBF funding for this second project. So that brings us to the first recommendation, and that's that municipal council approve the proposed amendment to the 24-25 capital investment plan relating to Village of Kingston project number K33 as detailed in Appendix B of the June 3rd, 2025 request for decision. Okay. And then the second piece is that municipal council approve the proposed amendment to the 24-25 Canada Community Building Fund use for village projects relating to Village of Kingston project K33 as detailed in Appendix A of the June 3rd, 2025 request for decision. So the first one is approving the change to the plan, and the second one is approving the village's actual use of those
Do we have a
increased
mover
amount
for
of
the
CCBF funds.
first recommendation? Moved by Deputy Mayor Peckford, second by Councilor McPherson. Any questions to Kevin on that recommendation? No. Okay, Councilor Sappington.
Could you please tell me what the plan for those funds are?
The plans are for an upgrade to a lift station KN03.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
Through you, Mayor.
Okay,
Gordon.
okay. All those in favor or against, please vote. Who's missing here? Deputy Mayor. Are you're voting in the positive? Tim, Tim, I'm sorry. Okay, okay. Counselor Harding is voting in the positive. Motion carried. Okay. And then for the second recommendation, do we have a mover for that? Moved by Counselor Allen, second by Counselor Best. Any further discussion to Mr. Wheaton on that? No? Okay. All those in favor or against, please vote. Perfect. You're 2 for 2, Mr. Wheaton. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mayor.
All right, now we got a briefing regard to civic sign promotion, by Scott McKay, our revenue manager and interim director of finance and IT. Motion carried, by the way.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening. So back on April 15th of this year, Committee of the Whole requested a report from staff regarding the promotion of 911 or civic signs through the municipal tax billing mail-out, as well as a potential distribution of signs to property owners. And to provide a little bit of context, if you'll allow me, the municipality issues tax bills twice a year, an interim bill on May 1st, and what we refer to as the final bill on September 1st. There's approximately 30,000 tax accounts for which bills are issued, and because we have a large number of ratepayers that have multiple properties, we can insert up to 3 bills in an envelope, as well as our tax newsletter and a return envelope. As a result of this, we send approximately 25,000 pieces of mail during each billing period. As expected, that number grows each year with the creation of new tax accounts, and for 2025, our assessment roll has grown by 237 property tax accounts. So staff considered 2 options connected to the tax billing mailout with the intent of being ready for any possible changes for the release of this September's final tax billing. So first of all, there was a thought of an insertion of a separate and additional flyer in the tax billing. And secondly, we thought about the inclusion of a notice in the tax newsletter, King's Times. The addition of another insert in the tax bills may or may not have promotional value, but it does have some added costs that I'll share with you. And that's a little small, so bear with me. I'll try to explain this. So billing would require the production and insertion of the additional flyer at a direct cost of $3,766.86. That includes non-refundable HST. And since there's an additional piece being inserted into each envelope, there would now be a need for approximately 1,400 of those 25,000 pieces in our current mailout to be split between 2 envelopes. This represents pieces that currently hold a maximum 3 bills in the envelope. With the additional insert, the maximum would now be 2 bills. So the additional envelopes would cost $226.32. And the additional postage on top of everything would be $1,722 for a total cost to do the additional flyer of $5,715.19. So the second option was issuing or including the advertisement in the King's Times newsletter with the tax billing. So it has been our practice to include this notice at least once annually in our newsletter. So on the screen you see the mock-up of what was used in the May 2024 issue, and this was a snip of what was included in the 2023 spring newsletter. So content is planned to be included in the September bills this year as a preferred method of promotion of the civic signs. So on the subject of providing funding for civic signs to property owners, the current process is to refer inquiries of this type to the various Lions clubs across Kings County. In addition to direct referrals, the municipality's website also hosts a page dedicated to the topic. As part of the Nova Scotia Building Code regulations, which the municipality follows obviously, an occupancy permit is withheld until a civic number is posted on a property. It is the opinion of staff that subsidizing civic numbers may take away from the responsibility of the property owners of posting their own civic numbers on their properties. So in the event that a civic numbering changes in the area, which we do see on occasion that a street gets realigned or renumbered, our civic address coordinator initiates contact with all affected property owners and provides necessary guidance on obtaining signage, including direction to the webpage with its information regarding the Lions Club contacts, how to post their civic sign, as well as bylaw information, and that is in bylaw 96. So the municipality plans at this point to continue its current processes regarding civic number sign promotion and referrals. So with that, I leave you with a recommendation that Municipal Council receive for information the briefing regarding 911 signage promotion as attached to the June 3rd, 2025 Council agenda. I'll turn that back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so we will look for a motion to receive the recommendation, and then we can open it up for debate. Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Sappington. All right, so we have a motion on floor. Deputy Mayor Peckford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. This is a topic that I find very important. As a first responder, I've had many times where I've had difficulties finding civic addresses. Our bylaw 96 states that under section 9E, that civic number shall be either composed of highly reflective material or be effectively illuminated during hours of darkness. Now, I'm sure, as many of you know here, we don't always have that on most of the houses here. And it's hard to police every single bylaw with limited staffing. I know that has been mentioned that through the MGA, it can get a little sticky on liability if we start providing signage for residents. I believe that as a council, the cost to us as a municipality would be so minuscule versus the benefit of potentially life-saving capabilities of having these proper signages on homes. I would suggest that council ask the CAO to consult with the municipal solicitor to confer if we're going to have any issues or any liability with providing this, and if there is no issue, I would ask that municipal council allocate funding for residents of Kings County to be able to trade in their old signage for new proper ones that conform with our bylaw and help first responders. Thank you.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor, Deputy Mayor, so you kind of took us in a different direction, so you would need to either amend that, or that's right, approve that or defeat that. So so my question is, do you want where do you want to go with this? If I'm fine either way, but it's a situation that I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong with your recommendation. It's just that doesn't really pertain to the motion that we have on the floor. So, what would you like?
Sorry, through you, I'll
Yep.
clarify. I'd like to add that as a secondary motion after this one, if
So
possible.
you would like to add an amendment to the
Yes.
motion that we, if this is approved, that we ask the CAO in addition to check in on, and you can give them the information afterwards.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be in addition to the recommendation, okay? So this would be the recommendation as amended, okay? So, so basically, he's asking for an amendment, all right? So now we need a seconder for that amendment. Moved, second by Councillor Harding. Okay, so now we are discussing the amendment that Deputy Mayor Peckford would like to see put in place. Okay, we do have some lights on. Do you want to talk on the amendment, Councillor Sappington, or the original motion?
I'll try to talk on the amendments.
That's what you need to do.
I have questions in regards to what was said in regards to the liability of the municipality if we were to send out civic numbers. I presume that means that if we fail to send it out, like I'd like to know more information. Why are we going to have liability if we were to proactively send out civic numbers? That would be my question.
I think in the deputy mayor's request, Councillor, that's what the CAO is going to provide us.
Okay, thank you.
But good question. Councillor Hiltz, on the amendment.
It's not on the amendment.
Then you're out of order. Councillor McPherson.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I think the proper procedure should be that we take the motion that's presented and vote on it, and if then the deputy mayor would like to add a second motion, I don't see the correlation for an amendment to this motion. I don't see how the two fit, unless someone wants to give me the wording.
Trying to make it work, but you don't vote on that until you vote on the amendment. You know better than that.
I don't know what the amendment is.
I get the deputy mayor to. Do you want to repeat it? What you want, deputy mayor, for Councillor McPherson?
Yes, thank you. Through you, I was happy to add this as a new motion later on, but as an amendment, mostly have the CAO consult with the municipal solicitor to see what the implications would be if we were to provide funding for residents to be able to write in and have a signage provided to them at the cost of the municipality.
Which would be expanding what the request is.
Still while adding in the letters.
Okay, Councillor Sappington.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would like to add to the recommendation, an amendment to the recommendation. I'd like to request the CAO to perhaps also ask the municipal solicitor in regards to perhaps bylaw enforcement as well, if we could make it so that our bylaw enforcement officers could ask our residences and how we could enforce them to keep civic signs at regulation.
That could be included in the amendment if provided the mover is agreeable. Are you agreeable to that? Yes or no? Yes, so yeah, you can add that. Oops. All right, Councillor Gates.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, and it goes against with the recommendation, but if I'm wearing another hat, it's as a member of the Port Williamson District Lions Club, we sell them, and that is a fundraiser for the Lions Club, and that money goes back into the community. So I would have to vote against.
That's fine. Thank you. Okay, so right now we are voting on the amendment only, okay? So all those in favor or against, please vote on the amendment that Deputy Mayor has requested to CAO to get advice from the solicitor. All those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, the amendment has now been passed. So now the original motion that was put forward by our finance man, as amended, all those in favor or against, please vote. So let's see, light switch here. Okay. For or against the motion as amended? Okay, the amended motion has now been carried. All right. So, we got through that. Thank you, Mr. McKay. Now we'll move on to recommendations of Committee of the Whole for, we included proclamation request for June the 2025 Pride Month, National Indigenous History Month, National Indigenous Peoples Day, and there's 3 motions. So the first motion is for the Municipal Council to proclaim June 25th, 2025 as National Indigenous History Month in the municipality of the County of Kings. Do we have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Gates, second by Councillor Sappington. Is there any further discussion? No. Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, motion carried. Now we'll move on to the second one, that the Municipal Council proclaim June 21st, 2025 as National Indigenous Peoples Day in the municipality of the County of Kings. I have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Sappington, second by Councillor Harding. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor or against, please vote. Motion carried. Okay, for the third one, that the Municipal Council proclaim June 2025 as Pride Month in the municipality of the County of Kings. We have a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor McPherson, second by Councillor Sappington. Any further discussion? All those in favor or against, please vote. Okay, please note for the clerk that Councillor Hiltz voted in favor also. Thank you for that, Robbie. Okay, so now we have the last one is a proposal to amendment policy COMM-02-003 proclamation notice that the Municipal Council provides 7 days notice per S.48(1) Municipal Government Act to amend policy COMM-02-003 proclamations as detailed in the May 20th, 2025 request for decision. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Gates, second by Councillor Allen. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye or nay, or please vote. Yay or nay. Okay. Motion carried. And we'll move on now to board and committee reports. After all reports, I'd ask for one motion to receive all the reports rather than do them individually. So we have an audit and financial finance committee. This report was submitted by Councillor McPherson. Do you have anything to add, Councillor McPherson? No. We also, Councillor Sappington, you had a report there. Did you have anything to add to your report? No. Is there any questions to Councillor McPherson or Councillor Sappington? No. Okay. So, are there any verbal reports from any members of council on committees? Councillor Sappington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to add that May 21st, Staff Sergeant Ed Nugent very graciously gave a tour of the RCMP building in U- for the mayor and the police advisory board members. I did go to Truro for the Nova Scotia Association of Police Governance and learned a lot, and excited to learn more. And then later on this month, the police advisory board will be touring the RCMP building in Dartmouth. Thank you. I so move.
Okay. And we have a seconder for Councillor Hiltz. All right. Any questions to Councillor Sappington on that? No. All those in favor or against, please vote. Okay. And was there any external boards and committees? No. Okay, motion carried on, I guess, to approve all the reports. Is that what you, Councillor Sappington? Okay, do that. All right, other business. Is there any other business? Councillor Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I arranged a meeting on June the 12th at 10 a.m. in the morning at East Hants. If anybody's interested in going up for a tour of the swimming pool there beside the highway, we're all welcome to come at 10 a.m. in the morning on the 12th of June. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And so everyone got that date, and I'd highly recommend it. The CAO and I had a tour of that facility, and it's well worth looking at. And I'd also suggest that maybe the Yarmouth facility is another great facility. But if you haven't seen the East Hants facility, it really is something worthwhile. Thank you, Councillor Best. All right, we'll now move into the public opportunity for the public to come forward and speak. And I know you may be annoyed at me because Councillor Best had suggested do it in the middle of the meeting, but I have to apologize. I had the feeling that maybe there's several people want to speak, and rather than have the whole meeting right in the middle interrupted, I thought probably at the end would be the best. So now is the opportunity if any member of the public would like to address council. Normally what you do is come forward, state your name and address, and we would normally have 2 minutes to speak, and now is the time to come forward if you wish. And there's no rush.
Very nervous. It's not something I
Take your
usually
time.
do.
It's okay. It's okay. We're pretty
Okay.
nervous up here too,
Yeah, I imagine you are.
especially tonight.
Yeah. So first of all, I'd just like to talk about the impact.
Okay,
that
and
it-
your name and address,
It's
please.
Catherine Evans. I live at 160 Main Street,
Okay, thank you.
Kentville. So we're probably a mile or less away from the plant.
Right.
Depending on which way the wind's blowing. We have had the smell, I would say, maybe for 6, 7, 8 weeks now, coming and going, and we get it every couple of days, every other day. Depends which way the wind's blowing, I guess. Usually, if I'm not complaining on Facebook, somebody in New Midas is complaining on Facebook. So I'm guessing the smell is there pretty much all the time. Just depends which way the wind is blowing, as who's smelling it. The impact on our home and our family is a lot of we can't plan anything for outside, because we plan it, then we can't go out. We literally cannot step outside the door. The stink is so bad. Even if we thought we could stand the smell and go out, we've got yard work to do, we certainly couldn't have a barbecue or anything like that. That would be gross. Even if we thought we could stand the smell to go out, we're worried about the effect on our health. We don't know what these gases, we don't know. For a start off, they make you feel sick. We're nauseous. I don't know if it's related. We've had more headaches, breathing issues, just generally more unhealthy in the last 1 to 2 months. We can't go out the door, but not only can we not go out the door, we have an old house. It permeates the house. We cannot get away from the smell. We're sat in the house with scented candles to try and mask the smell. It's disgusting. It has a negative effect on both how you feel physically and mentally. It just grinds you down. You never know when it's going to be. It's a hot day. We don't open any windows or doors, but because it only takes 5 minutes of that smell to get in the house, even more than it would just sort of, it permeates. So that's what we're dealing with constantly. Now, last year, for some reason, it wasn't as bad. We did get it. It wasn't as strong, and it stopped sooner. All good. I don't know why there would be a difference from last year to this year when they did work last year. So that seems unfathomable to me. But moving on, I think there's some basic fundamental questions that need addressing before anything else is done, before any other money is spent. We need to know, is it overcapacity or an operational problem issue? If it's overcapacity, what's the point in trying to deal with all these little things? Yes, you need to try and keep it as good as it can be, spending as little money as possible, because that money needs to go to a new plant. If it's overcapacity, there's no measures that are going to solve the problem. And all the sort of faffing about, we're doing this, we're doing that, if it's overcapacity, it's not going to work.
You've mentioned that several times now. The experts have told us it's not
so
it's only
operational.
at 50%.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
that is an answer.
I don't know that.
No,
I
you're just
don't know
taking
that.
advice,
But,
yeah.
you know,
So
but
that's a
that's
fundamental
what
question.
the so-called experts, engineers
So
are telling us.
Everyone needs a definitive answer on that.
Yeah.
The next question, is it underfunding or incompetence? Because quite honestly, it's one or the other.
Right.
I don't see that it can be anything else. Underfunding, incompetence. There are sewage plants all over the world that do not have any of these problems in areas with much larger populations. Maybe they have more money, I don't know. When we lived in England, we were closer to the sewage plant than we are now. We never smelt it. We were there for 8 years, we never smelt it once. You could walk right past the plant within 30 feet of the lagoons. There was a smell then, but you could walk past without, it is possible to run a sewage plant successfully. And you need the expertise, and I don't think you're getting it.
Well, believe me, that's certainly our goal.
So I think
That's certainly our goal.
those,
Okay? But
all this, we're doing this, we're putting air in, we're testing. You don't need to test, just come and ask all these people, does it smell today? Yes, it smells today, it's
we
wrong.
are well aware it smells. One of our counselors lives there. You
Yeah.
live in the town of Kentville. The municipality of Kings we're taking the brunt and trying to do the best we can. But
Yeah,
I
but
hope
the
you
best we can is
I hope
is
you
not good
realize that
enough.
the town of Kentville is the biggest user of that system. The town of Kentville has employees
Yeah,
that
and
set.
I hope you realise we
town of
pay an
Kentville
awful lot of tax
The
to
town
the
of
town of
Kentville sits on the board. The town of Kentville has a counselor that sits on the sewer board.
I'm sorry, I thought this was my turn to talk.
Well, and you've been well past the 2 minutes. I'm
Five.
just trying to tell you that it's not just the county of Kings. You
No.
live in Kentville, your town. They have counselors and staff that are on the sewer committee too.
Yeah.
You know, just like the village of
I'm
New
not-
Minas.
I'm not blaming
The village of New
everybody.
Minas.
I'm-
But
I'm-
we are, yeah, but we're here.
I'm
You
not
know,
here to blame
our
anybody.
staff are taking the blame, but there's more to this. We have other partners, and your
Yeah.
town is one of the partners. No different than the village of
I
New
didn't
Minas.
say we weren't.
So anyway, thank you. We're well aware of your concerns, and you're right. We're hoping that we can get this system
Hoping
so that it works.
Hoping shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It should be we are doing.
Well, that's
or
the
we
best
are
I
not.
can offer, other than
So is
get
it-
the experts.
Is it underfunding or is it incompetence?
I wish I knew. Thank you. I wish I knew, believe me.
Hello, my name is Robin Adair Joyce. I live at 60 Main Street, Kentville, and I have lived here. I moved from Halifax in 2010, and over every year, it seems that I smell, a foul odor in the air from time to time. Well, this year, it's been the worst it's ever been. It's I can't go outside of my apartment. I live right beside the research station. I live in a beautiful part of the town. I have a dog. I like to take her down to the dog park. The dog park is in direct line of the sewage treatment plant. I can't even take my dog down the road, when she loves to go for walks. It's impacted my mental health, my physical health. This is me. There's a huge apartment complex right across the street. It was built a few years ago. It's still fairly new. Why was that approved in the first place before our system wasn't addressed, all the issues? One day in the winter time, I went for a walk down the trail, the Harvest Trail, into Kentville, and there, right beside the trail, the walking trail, was a large sewage truck, and it was vacuuming, sucking up the raw sewage that was alongside the trail. And they've put in a pipe, and they say it's temporary, like before. So they're essentially putting a Band-Aid on a much bigger issue. I spoke just the other day to a gentleman who worked for PepsiCo for many, many years. He's retired now, but he worked on treating the water there and in the areas. And he told me point blank that some of the older houses in the town of Kentville are not hooked up to the system. They, in fact, flush their toilets right into the Cornwallis River. The Cornwallis River is right beside Miners Marsh, where people love to come and walk and see nature, the birds and the turtles and the wildlife there, and people come from all the way around to take pictures. No one's going to want to come and walk a trail that reeks of raw sewage every single day. Like the other lady said, I can't open my windows, I can't open my doors, I have to burn scented candles. One night, it was like someone pooed in my face, like honestly. And when I opened my door to my apartment to go outside, someone literally pooed in my face. You go outside when the stench is in the air and it sticks to your clothing. You have to go inside and you have to strip down and wash your clothing. Anything that's being done is not enough. We need to revisit this and find a solution, and we need to, like Halifax, they have zero smell in the air. Why can't that be us? And it's unacceptable when they keep on saying, oh, we're working on it, we're trying to make it better. Better is 100% no disgusting smell in our air. I heard one family comment, they moved down to the valley 3 years ago and bought a house, and they absolutely loved this area. But they moved from Halifax, and they are moving back to the city because of the stench. They can't handle it any longer. Now they have the privilege of, and they said this, they have the money and the means to pack up, sell their home here, and move back to the city. Well, many of the residents in this area that have to smell the smell every single day do not have that privilege. We have to get up every single day and we have to walk out the door and wonder, today, is it gonna reek? Like, is it gonna be unbearable, or can I go for a walk? Can I enjoy this beautiful province? We have a beautiful province, and we deserve to be able to enjoy it and be able to live our best healthy lives in it.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
I want to reiterate, we are very well aware of how bad it is for you, because we have a counselor, Sappington, who lives in New Minas. She lives there in that with you, and I want to assure you, she's reminding us all how bad it is, and you know, and we're well aware of it, and it is deplorable, you know. So we're well aware of that. The big thing is the fix. That's what it is.
Listen, I think we all know you're aware of it. You have to deal with this problem. It's a huge problem. We know that, and we're not blaming anybody.
Your name.
My name is Rosemary. I live in Kentville on Caldwell Avenue.
Thank you.
Next to your old friend.
My old friend?
Craig Smith.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I know I seem a little obnoxious because I'm a little ramped up. Not at you, but
I hear
not at you, but at the situation.
You're frustrated. I understand every one of you, and we can't blame you.
But the only problem is, see, what I was at home working, and I was watching this online, and then I realized that Christina Sappington asked great questions. She said, So this is the engineering company that's going to do the survey or the study is the same company that has been dealing with this issue for all these. That doesn't make any sense. If they can't fix it, they don't have the answers. It's time to look somewhere else. It's very, I mean, come on, you guys are all smart guys. I had some friends visiting from BC. They were down here, they were down for a conference. They were like, oh, wow, it's beautiful. We went down to Miners Marsh, and they were like, oh. And honest to God, I was so embarrassed. It makes us look like idiots down here that we can't manage this, well, it's not a little problem. I know it's a big problem. And I don't think we should blame any one person. But I do think that we do have the resources. We have a lot of great people down here, smart people, well-educated people, people with a lot of know-how, common sense. I'm sure that we've got it in us to fix it. And I just think it should be a priority. Like basic infrastructure is a priority. I don't care about anything else. Well, no, I do. But I think sanitation is a major priority. And just remember, I'm just going to leave you with this one thing. Just remember that every time you smell something, it's because there's little molecules of whatever that is in the air that you're inhaling into your body. So every time you get a good whiff of that stench, you're taking in the molecules from the sewage plant. And I can't begin to think that that's good for us, okay? So sorry if I seem disrespectful in any way. It's not meant that way.
Fine.
It's
Thank you.
just people are really have had it. Like I live up in Kentville. I'm not even down in New Minas. I can smell it like every other day. Can't leave my window open at night. It's bad. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I want to tell you that this is, whether you like it or not, this is a priority. This is definitely a priority. There's not a member on this council that doesn't consider this a priority.
I'm going to do a change of tables here. My name is Adrian Johnstone. I've resided in Kings County for 25 years. Not talking about the sewage plant, but I'm talking about on the Civic signs that you guys had spoken about earlier. I just wanted to take the time to come in person and express the importance of Civic signs and provide some insight on how you proceed with your guys' decisions. I also want to express my disappointment in Mayor Corkum in the phone call in which I received after I had emailed and delivered letters when I began this project. When I received a phone call from our mayor, he stated off the bat that the county did not have any money for this initiative, even though education falls under the responsibility of the county and ultimately the decision of council. I feel on his part this was inappropriate. Over the course of 6 months, I've been actively engaged with promoting the importance of civic signs, installing signs, working and learning with the staff here at the county about the process and who's responsible, while also hearing from first responders. I've been a 911 operator and for about 5 years and a volunteer firefighter for 7. I personally know the struggles we face each day. Just last month I responded to a cardiac arrest in our fire district, and we passed the address due to the lack of a civic sign. This continues to be a concern when seconds and even minutes matter. Since I began this project, there has been an increase in signs in our communities, which is a positive development. But social media does not get to the doorsteps of everyone, and there is still work to be done. I would like to say thank you to Councillor Best and Deputy Mayor Peckford for spearheading this on the county level. For Deputy Mayor Peckford about funding and a proper sign and stake and bolts, my math, it's approximately $32. That's sign displayed or supplied from the Colebrook Lions Club, and a stake and nuts that are supplied from Home Hardware. I think you're on the right track, but I feel that there should be a criteria for elderly people who can't afford a sign or suffer from mobility issues. It should still be up to the responsibility of homeowners to have their civic signs displayed as in accordance to the bylaws. In regards to your tax letters or newsletters, having these attached on newsletters like it has been in previous years personally defeats the purpose, and most people skim right by it. I am aware enforcement has been something that has lacked on the county level for numerous years, and up until recent, you guys did not have a bylaw officer, but this needs to improve. I appreciate Councillor Sappington for bringing this forward, and I appreciate your attention to this matter and look forward to seeing the progress further. I do have one quick question. I really can't seem to find the answer to this, and is there an end? There's a current problem with civic signs being displayed, but is there an end to it? Is there currently something within the bylaws or something that's being enforced in regards to having a civic sign displayed before someone receives a building permit or an occupancy permit within the county? And I don't need that answer right now, but that is something that I have been wondering in other counties.
We'll get that answer for you. Well, maybe we can give it to you right now. Just a minute.
Permit is not issued unless a civic number is posted on a property.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just Ms. Did you, Council, did you want to speak?
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Gates had a comment.
As a councillor for District 2, I, like Christina Sappington, my daughter lives in Fox Hill on Hunter with 2 young children, 2 and 4. So believe me when I tell you, my concerns are with you. I hear your frustration. My grandchildren are breathing it. So I will be doing everything that I can as well to lobby for a resolved matter to this. Thank you.
Tim Warmington, 2 Danielle Drive in New Minas. Many of you may know me as Mr. Sappington, so I will be preparing sleeping arrangements in the doghouse this evening, but I'm prepared to deal with that. I'm going to take a little bit of a different tack on this. I have no doubt that everyone in this room, and I include everyone in this room, takes this seriously and is troubled by this. And I have to say personally, it's very easy to shoot the messenger. It's not the messenger's fault. And yeah, we're all aware this is a, pardon the pun, crappy situation, and we're all living with it. And yes, I have every belief that everyone in this room, everyone attached to this product is approaching it in good faith and genuinely wants to find solutions. However, the frustration is palpable, and we all agree the frustration is justified. So that is why I suggest a big part of the problem and a big way we can deal with that issue is with communication and have real, frank conversations about what's been done, what's going to be done, and where we're going. So to illustrate my point, I'll just reflect back to you what I've heard this evening and what I've heard over the course of several of the previous updates. I've heard that we're trying a lot of different things. We're trying things in different stages. We're getting different results. We're not sure. We tried this, we tried that. We really don't know, and that's okay. You know, we don't know. I've also heard that we've spent a lot of money, but I don't know how much money. I know now that with the issue Adrian was talking about, there's bylaws on the books, but we can't enforce them. And now we're looking at spending money to put signs on houses. What would be helpful is transparency. Who are the contractors? Who are the people being consulted? Where are the detailed reports? And a concrete timeline attached to each of the items that are presented. So we can say, yes, and on the immediate stuff, that's great, but the longer term stuff, like, let's just be honest about this. We've all danced around it. It's not going to go away. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about a year, 2 years, 3 years? The studies are coming. Okay, when are we going to get the study? When is council going to have the opportunity to consider the bigger picture? Those are the kinds of answers that people need, real concrete details. And yeah, I don't blame a director who comes here. He only has the information he's given, and he's right not to speculate. I gotta be honest, I don't want him to speculate. I don't need speculation. I need answers. And the answers don't even need to be, hey, this is gonna work, that's gonna work. It just has to be, here's the timeline we're working on, this is the way we're going, this is how long we're gonna have to live with this. Because that's the point we're at now. We're past the point of being frustrated. We're past the point of, you know, people making jokes on CBC and various places online and sniping on Reddit. We're past that. How much longer? What's the long term? What's the game? Where's the end? That sort of public information is what would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hey, I'm getting there too, so I can appreciate that.
Cecil
Christina's
Locker.
the only one
I
that-
live in New Minas, 50 Cedarwood Crescent, and I can sure understand why people are frustrated. I would like to remind you that the lagoon, the last lagoon that was constructed in New Minas with the blower houses, my company did it. I built the sewer lagoons in Hansford, Lawrencetown. Berwick had pretty well the same problem that we got now a few years ago. So they did, I built their last pond out there. I can tell you probably one of the important things, I installed a big drum, a rotating drum. All the raw sewer coming from everywhere went in the one end of the drum. It kept going around. It was supposed to take out all the solids, and the wastewater went in the treatment plant. Could somebody tell me if that drum is still working?
Operating. There's been
Yeah,
difference.
that drum is still operating.
Still operating. There've been,
Because
Mr. Mayor, through you to Mr. Lockhart, the drum is still operating. My understanding is that there's been different configurations of the screen in that drum to try to make it operate better.
Yeah, okay. Because if not, all them solids go directly out in the pond. And the first time we started the thing up, the first time it was ever started up, the next morning we went down to have a look, opened up the door, and there was 1.5 feet of crap in the building. Just so if it's still operating, they increase the. Do they know how much of the solids is going out into the pond? Actually, I'm not going to waste too much time. I can understand why everybody's frustrated, and still the councillors. And I was impressed with the questions that the councillors directed to the gentleman that was there. And to be fair with him, he gets his information from the consultants that he's dealing with. That's why he couldn't give you or give any of us, the answers maybe we were looking for. I can tell you probably the most single important thing that the council can do now would be to have that consultant sitting there and all the councillors put the questions to him. And I would sure like to be in the background listening to everything that's being said and ask them a few questions. Because I think your biggest problem is, because I was in a meeting probably 2-3 years ago when this same matter was brought up, and you were going to get counselors, or consultants, I guess, and consultants to come up with what should be done. And really, the council or the county has done a fair amount down there, but it seems like a fellow repairing an old car, you just keep changing the parts until you find the problem. It'd be kind of nice to have a consultants that could tell you what the problem is, and you should really know what the problem that's down there. You should know. Somebody should be able to tell you what's got to be done to fix it, because you've been at it for. It ain't that you ignored it. The council, the county's been at it for a long time and spent a lot of money down there. And I think before you, I look. I think it's at the point, and I'm not threatening or nothing. I think it's at the point right now that it's better to get the problem corrected fairly quick than to have a class action started. Because, look, right now, I work in, I got a project on the other side of town. I get up in the morning, I hit that Shell service station, and I look down in the hollow, and if the fog is down in the hollow, I hold my breath until I get to Belcher Street. It's that bad. I mean, like it's something else at times. It's and I was impressed with what's taking place down there now with, putting more oxygen in it and then mixing them chemicals. Honestly, I don't think that's the answer. I think the next move that should take place here, you should have the consultants that is advising the gentleman that was there, because he can only tell us what the consultants is turn around telling him, and I'll tell you, they're not giving us.
Your advice, we know you got some experience in that field. We appreciate that. Thank you. Take your time going back up there.
Name's Mike McDonald. I live at 41 Lockhart Drive. I think before we turn a lot of money into a new sports center in Colebrook or the Old O, wherever it's going to disappear to, I think we should concentrate on dealing with the sewer problem new months before we dump extra money that we don't have in the county to cover. On a note side, I think we should deal with the sewer. We got a lot of people before we have to put people in a swimming pool. That's my own side of it. I think we got to put our money in the right spot and get the situation fixed. There's a lot of people everywhere you turn. There's another new apartment building going on. It's more sewer going in the system. We need to concentrate and really get it fixed. That's my thought.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Good evening, Stephen Evans, 160 Main Street in Kentville. Just the gentleman here on the right who spoke, just want to echo his comments. Communication, very important. There's been a lot of speculation as to what the problem might be. A lot of us came here for answers. We didn't get any. And I think that's really what the public demand is answers. Someone to hold their hand up, take accountability, take ownership, and be transparent. We're looking for a root cause, not just immediate fixes. We want to know that our tax dollars are being put to something that's going to provide a long-term solution.
not just a fix for now, and then we'll have to do something again next year. 7 years of this issue, we have the data, we have the knowledge. Now we just need some transparency. Who are the consultants? What are their qualifications? These are kept secret from us, and they shouldn't be. We have a right to know. We pay our taxes. We are the ones funding these consultants. So really, we just want to know the details. What are the recommendations the consultants are making? What has been acted on as opposed to what has not?
I will have to address your comment. This is not being kept secret from you. We're well prepared to tell you the consultants that we pay. That's no secret. So you may not have the information. You may feel that you didn't get the information tonight. I'm not arguing the point there, but I will tell you that there's no secret on who we're hiring and all that to try and fix this problem. That's not a hidden thing. We're not trying to hide anything from you. We sure as heck want to get it fixed. There's a lot of people, not only council and staff, that are stressing out about this, but it's not being kept secret.
Okay. So yeah, I think making that, let's say, more widely available, that information would go a long way. The public understanding what the actual root cause of the problem is would go a long way. And having that action plan and milestones, then we could understand exactly what's being done, as opposed to words that I hear like should, could, hope, maybe, might help. Those are not really affirmative actions. So to me, those words don't work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Sappington.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for letting me speak. I didn't know if councilors could speak during a public portion, but
well, it is the public comment.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, we've been here long enough.
I appreciate it. I would like to take this moment to thank the public for coming. Kudos to you. I know it's been a long night, and I wanted to say that I've been with you. I don't know, you might not follow me on social media, and so I've been quoted in 2 separate newspaper articles. I have twin 8-year-olds and a 13-year-old, and we live right in New Minas, and every Sunday we go to church, and I can smell and taste it seeping through our church walls, and so I am there with you. And then in regards to incompetence, I will tell you, I'm not an engineer. In fact, I never did politics before in my life until I won this election. I was a radio DJ, and so communications is kind of my thing. My degree is in English and mass communication. So what I can promise you is that I'll keep asking questions. And when someone says, are we going to stop doing meetings in August? No, we're not. I'm going to keep asking questions, and I'm going to make sure that my kids can play outside, and that I can open my windows in the springtime, and that I can hang my clothes out to dry, and that no, I'm not going to be tasting the air. And these are all things that I've been quoted as saying. And then to the gentleman who said that he didn't know that the meeting was going on, I will say that I post that too on my Facebook when the meetings are happening, and it is on our county website, and it is live streamed. I saw somebody on All Things Annapolis Valley ask if it was going to be live streamed. It's always live streamed, and then I will post it afterwards. Usually you'll find the timestamp of when I asked my questions. And so all that to say, kudos. I'm glad that I'm not the only one raising hell. Thank you for coming. And we're going to fix this. I really believe that it is a priority of everyone at this table and that table too. I really do. I feel that way. I know that we're angry and frustrated, but I can tell you that I work in this building and it is a priority of everyone in this building.
And she's here to remind us.
Good evening. It's been a long evening, and it's been stressful for all of you as well as us. Good evening. I know it's been stressful for all of you as well as us, but we are at our limit with this.
And your name and address, please?
Esther Bradley. I live in 19 Bishop Avenue.
Okay, thank you,
Mines.
Esther.
And I also am a business owner. So I have to go to work and smell this, and I have to go home and smell it. And how many of you have to go home and smell this tonight? Two. Well, I appreciate very much, Christina, what you were doing to help us out, and also Doug. Appreciate it very much, because we are at our limit. 2 years ago, there was a meeting in New Minas, and we were promised, they found the problem, they were going to fix the problem, and we would have no more smell, we were promised. But here today, it's worse than ever. So you failed. If I owned a business and I was creating a smell, I'd be shut down tomorrow. It's called due diligence, and where is the Department of Labor, and where is the Department of Health? Has there been air quality testing? I go to work, my eyes water, I can hardly see my computer. The other day I felt so sick, I thought I had to go home. So are we going to get compensated for this causing us these problems? Our employees are complaining. Our customers are coming in and saying, what is that horrible smell? I've never smelled anything worse. It's got to be done. Something has to be done. And when is it going to be done? I want to know when, so I can tell my employees. When is it going to be fixed? All this is a lot of talking here. When is it going to be fixed?
I wish I could give you that answer.
2 years ago,
The only
we were
answer-
lied to.
I didn't lie to you, but I'm telling you, I
That's
wish
the exact
there's
word.
not a person sitting on this council that wouldn't be able to love to tell
Start
you right
facing
now
the truth.
when it's going to be fixed.
You need to start facing facts and the truth, and start telling the truth, and not just doing Band-Aid fixes that you've been doing for years and years. All of you, every one of you, you have a responsibility for this county,
You're correct about that. Thank you.
and I appreciate all your efforts because someone has to do it.
You're right. Thank you.
But we need to know when. And please send me an email. I'll email you with the answer.
Mike on?
Yes.
Yeah. My name's Dwayne Richards. I currently reside in Lunenburg County, Nova Scotia, and I'm probably your closest neighbor to your treatment plant. I own a lot of land around the treatment plant, and I'm currently doing a development in Jones Road in New Minas. I have a crew that travels up from Bridgewater to help us. I've heard the stories about the smell. The guys don't even want to come to work. I have a concern for the development. Am I got to be able to put homes in there that people can live in? We've got a big mess, and it's not an easy fix. But I think one of the gentlemen spoke before about some facts, maybe some stuff that's a little more concrete would help the public. I do realize the sludge removal, the cost of taking it to where it goes. I was involved in a project in the early 90s where the old cell one was cleaned out and stored on a piece of property that I have. I've talked to Scott and Brad just lately about it. I talked to staff 4 years ago about it. I never hear back about it. Right, of the process. So the process of the sludge that was removed 30 years ago, we're currently having tested now for what remains in it and whether it can be used. I do think it is a sludge problem. I think the treatment plant was kind of neglected for whatever reason, became loaded. There's lots of the other cells that have a fair amount of sludge in them that weren't designed to run with that. So it's a sludge problem. Get rid of the sludge, get rid of the smell. There was a couple, I know there's probably been lots of suggestions. There was a proposal to fly a drone over and flocculate the cells to get rid of the smell. Why are we not doing that? If it's an emergency and we need to spend the money, and costs do matter, but they don't fix a problem, why was that not done? Knowing what the recommendations of the consultants are. You know what I mean? To see, like, 7 years ago, between now and then, there's been recommendations. What are they? Which ones have we taken and which ones haven't we taken? So, from a developer and a landowner, I believe that information will go a long ways. I do believe Mr. Kerrigan's statement that I don't believe they're overcapacitized. I think he's correct in the statement that it's nowhere near capacity. There's lots of talk about there, too much stuff going in and that sort of thing, which likely isn't the case. We lost a big producer of effluent in New Minas when the ACA poultry plant closed down. They were one of the biggest contributor of the stuff that caused the problems with the screens. They're no longer there. It's not going into that treatment plant anymore. But in the early 90s, we had a problem with the smell. We cleaned the pond out. The smell went away for years. There was supposed to be a plan then of cleaning the cell on a routine basis, a schedule. Monitor your depths. When you get to a certain depth, get them cleaned out. Never happened for 30 years. Whose fault? Who knows? Doesn't matter. It didn't happen.
So your opinion is that sludge needs to be cleaned out?
Well, between the existing cell 2 and cell 5, there's approximately 14,000 cubic meters of sludge between the 4 cells. When we did it to the old cell, which cell 2 now was cell 1, we were having that problem in the community. I grew up there, I lived there. You get a week in the spring when you get some odor, but it got progressively worse. The sludge buildup got too high. We cleaned her out.
Okay, well, thank you. I think that was the opinion Mr. Gates had given us too, and we're listening.
Yeah, and
thank you.
Just even a reply back to, the question on it. And everybody's busy. I know they got lots on their plate.
Oh.
Right?
This is a priority.
I understand.
Thank you, sir. See what I did, Mr. Gates, when I let you go over that 2 minutes? No, it's my fault. Well, I want to reiterate what Councillor Sappington said, but I want to thank all of you for coming. But there was a comment earlier. I want to thank Councillor Sappington and Councillor Gates for all they're doing. Well, I want to assure you that yes, they're concerned, but every member of this council around this horseshoe are just as concerned, even whether we live there or not. It is a priority, and I do want to thank everyone for coming. We listened to you, and I solely wish that I could give you the answer that it's going to be fixed by X number when tomorrow, but I can't do that. But I do want to thank you for coming, and on behalf of this council and the staff, say it is a priority and it will continue to be a priority until we get the result that's needed. Thank you very much for coming. No second chances. I'm sorry. We're not going to start all over again.
I don't want to start over. I just want to ask, what's next? What's the council's next step?
Well, it's continue the same. It's a priority to try and get this thing fixed. If we knew exactly what it was to fix it, we'd have done it yesterday. But we're
Sure, but okay. So what are you going to do to find out? How do we get the right people around the table?
Well,
or how do we?
That's
how
when
do-
we
with the public?
lean on our staff. Anyway, thank you. You had your chance, and I appreciate it. Yeah, everybody else is going to want to come to that mic the second time.
Is there how do we go about getting a meeting, like a public hearing specifically for this issue with people who can provide answers? Is there a
all
vehicle, a
our
method?
meetings are public. All our
Okay.
meetings are public.
Right,
And-
but there's
and-
lots of like tonight there were all kinds of different issues discussed, which is fine. You've got to do
Yeah.
that. How do
We
we
have
get-
a regional sewer committee, this gentleman's chair, and so it's a situation. Those meetings are open to the public too. Yeah.
Okay, so that's so how do we bring about a meeting specifically for the sewage plant with the right people who can provide answers? I was just wondering, do we go on your website? Is there a way we can apply for that and make it happen?
All our meetings are on the website and including the sewer meeting.
This, no.
Okay, so that is available. I posted on Facebook, on the Facebook site. I suspect it's on the website, but there is
Okay.
a 2-page report of what we've done, what we're doing, and what is needed.
Okay.
And so that's the type of topic.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Appreciate that, Christina. Yes, thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, buddy, I couldn't do any better than I did. Huh? So can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Councillor Councillor McPherson, second by Councillor Hiltz. All those in favor or against, please vote. Hurry, Doug, hurry. Okay, motion carried.